Hey, folks. We heard from our friends at sunsetlakesabade.com, and they hope you're hanging in there. They know things have been rough lately. Certainly a lot of stuff going down up in their neighborhood with ice, and it has been a very cold and a rough, tough winter. Time change has messed up our sleep schedules. And then there's the continual barrage of existential horrors that we have to deal with on a daily basis. But spring is nearly here. I told you about those starlings. They came early. Spring is close. And it's a great time to recenter and focus on maintaining healthy habits. And to support you in your wellness goals, they're having a big sale on all of their Sabade tinctures. Now through March 24th. You can save 30% on their full spectrum Sabade tinctures with the code SPRING26. Spring number 26, no spaces. This includes tinctures to sleep, tinctures for balancing your stress levels, and even tinctures for your cats and dogs. I am a big Good Night Oil tincture user. It has helped me dramatically with my sleep now for a couple of years without having to take as much of that, stuff like Ambien and I don't know, cough medicine or it's fantastic. They have both sleep aids with melatonin, without melatonin. I also will take some of the straight Sabade, usually in the 3,500 meg realm, just when things are getting a little stressful at the home because of the kids. But as they age out, then it's just, I'm just going to chill. Head on over to sunsetlakesabade.com. Use the code SPRING26. Spring26. That's Spring26 to save 30% on all their Sabade tinctures for people and pets. Sale ends March 24th. At 11:59 p.m. Eastern. See their site for additional terms and conditions. And now, time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
The destiny of America is always safer in the hands of the people than in the conference rooms of any elite.
Sam Seder.
They are unanimous in their hate for me, and I welcome their hatred.
We must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
Ever get the feeling you've been cheated?
It is Tuesday, March 17th, 2026. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, Europe balks at Trump's plea for help in the Strait of Hormuz. Top U.S. counterterrorism official resigns over the Iran war. Israel claims the killing of top Iranian security and Basij heads. Pakistan bombs Kabul, killing hundreds, I should say. The primaries in Illinois could shut out AIPAC. Senate Republicans kick off an attempt to pass the SAVE Act, which would disenfranchise nearly 20 million people. Cuba suffers a countrywide blackout as a function of U.S. embargo. Meanwhile, Trump claims the United States will take over in a friendly way. Federal judge blocks RFK's vaccine policies. And the woefully understaffed DOJ starts hiring prosecutors directly out of law school. It is day 2 of the 3,800 meatpacking workers' strike. This is the first meatpacking strike in over 4 decades. 200,000 legal immigrants losing their truck licenses starting yesterday. And abundance takes one square in the face. A new housing study. Lastly, a Georgia city fighting ICE detention megacenter. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen.
It is Newsday Tuesday.
And in fact, a Newsday Tuesday.
A true and pure and honest Newsday Tuesday. We're not lying to you anymore on this program.
And breaking news, yesterday was Brian Vogie's birthday. Yep.
Yes, it was.
I know. I'm so stressed out for my upcoming bar mitzvah.
Brian waited. You actually can do that. Yeah, my uncle, who Saul was named after, he got re-bar mitzvahed like at age like 96 or something.
How has Adam Sandler not done a movie about this?
That's a great
good
point. And also, being re-bar mitzvahed sounds a lot more fun than being recircumcised, just in case Tony Dokapol wants to
Well, he just
give
did it
advice
once,
to
didn't
others.
he? Or did he actually?
Who knows?
I don't
Who
know.
knows?
It's hard to know what was there before. Nevertheless, happy birthday, Brian.
Thank you.
Happy birthday, Brian.
Brian tried to stay away yesterday to avoid this, and so we're just sending a
I thought I
message.
made it.
We're just
He
sending a
didn't
message.
say why he was going to be gone on Monday. He's just like, I'm going to be gone.
Oh, no. It was the birthday thing, and then I just realized, like, oh, he doesn't want us to mention it. Well, too bad.
I remembered on the day.
Yes, very nice text from Emma that said like "you wee wow" or something.
Well, I remember. I just said we're going to celebrate it today. It's celebrated today.
Oh.
Your birthday's usually, it's always celebrated on the first Tuesday after your birthday.
I said wahoo.
Oh yeah, wahoo! Right.
There are,
Ooh. Like the song from the frickin' Lion King. Okay, keep going.
we've got 4 primaries in Illinois today. I mean, there may be more, in fact, but there are 4 congressional ones. Illinois 2nd, Illinois 7th, Illinois 8th, Illinois 9th. AIPAC has spent over $21 million through its election PAC, the United Democracy Project, as well as they have apparently other shell PACs, the Affordable Chicago Now, Elect Chicago Women, and Chicago Progressive Partnership.
Not hearing anything about the relationship America has with Israel in any of those names.
It's hard to fit those in.
just
Affordable
care about
Israeli
women.
Chicago Now.
Yeah. Affordability they care about.
I mean, this all reminds me of like when Cuomo ran in, I think it was was it the governor's race? One of the races he ran under, started a party, Women for Cuomo, something to that effect, as a way of fighting all of the accusations of him assaulting women. That's what they do. Crypto and AI have spent a combined nearly $7.5 million in Illinois' 2nd, 7th, and 8th. Their super PACs, one is called Fair Shake. That's a crypto one. Protect Progress. That's another crypto one. Jobs and Democracy. AI. And Think
exact
Big
opposite.
AI. Yes. Opposite day was already taken, apparently.
Our democracy is in good shape, folks. Thank you to the Supreme Court for making sure free speech was protected with the Citizens United case.
Exactly right.
We had 2 different candidates on this program who are running today. In Illinois 8, Junaid Ahmed was it last week? 2 weeks ago.
2 or 3 weeks ago.
And running against former Congresswoman Melissa Bean, who is I would call her a corporatist. I think that she would be in favor of that. she had over $6 million from APAC crypto and AI lobbies. That is a very, very close race. In the polling, to the extent that you can really glean too much from these polls, he was down just by 5 points, and there was still plenty of undecideds. In Illinois 9, Kat Abou-Gazela, who was on this program last week, there's been a couple of polls, and she's within, 4 or 5 points of Evanston Mayor Daniel Biss. We should say that there's a weird controversy about Biss. Weird. That dropped last night. He apparently was a TA at a university. He was age 25 or 26. And he had a student who was 21. After the class ended, he more or less asked her on a date or tried to get together. And then they apparently, this is from her account, which she announced on Blue Sky last night. They made out a couple of times. And it apparently impacted her adversely. He called it off because he felt that it was inappropriate because she had been a student. I don't, it's all a little bit strange in terms of the timing.
But it just matters more. I mean, Biss has received hundreds of thousands of dollars from Israel lobby donors. So,
right.
I mean, there you go. Case closed.
But I thought we should just mention that because that's what's happening. But the idea that you had at least 2 candidates who supported by Justice Democrats who may still win, they both could win. When you've had this much APAC aligned money is a very, very good sign on how toxic APAC money has become. And it's quite clear they know this too, which is why they're going through all of these hoops to hide where this money is coming from. They are also spending money in that same Illinois 9th in support of a candidate who we discussed a little bit after Kat Abou-Gazela came on. She was supported by one local chapter, not the sort of biggest one, I guess, DSA chapter there.
Recommended, not endorsed. And she is she is polling significantly behind Kat Abou-Gazela. So our advice to you, if you're in Illinois 9th, would be to support Kat because she has the chance to really actually win.
But just to give you a sense of what APAC is doing, they put money into her campaign as a way of splitting Abou-Gazela's vote. Now, the funny part is that the APAC gave directly to candidate Laura Fine, and it hurt her favorability by almost 23 points once it came out.
So they have to do these cutouts where they lie about what they actually are. This is the ad we're referring to here they call themselves Chicago Progressive Partnership, but it's APAC money going through this super PAC cutout.
Bushra Amiwala is fighting for real economic justice.
We must break down these oligarchs and monopolies. We must make sure that billionaires, corporations, and these oligarchs pay their fair share in taxes.
Bushra's plan? Medicare for all, a living wage, student loan forgiveness, real affordable housing options, and yes, making the wealthy pay their fair share. Bushra Amiwala is the real deal, fighting for real economic justice.
Oh, so obvious APAC money that comes through from there because it's all of those things that APAC stands for.
This is them kind of learning the reverse of what happened in NJ11, by the way, where they ended up running ads to the left of Tom Malinowski to say that he had kind of supported ICE funding and things like that. But they ended up splitting the vote of the pro-Israel contingent, and then you had Mejia, who ended up winning that race by the skin of her teeth. They're trying to now split the progressive vote. This is their newer tactic because they got swamped in NJ11.
And here's something. While she had a response to this, she wasn't happy.
Obviously,
she had no control over them spending this money. Let's make that clear. There's an outside expenditure.
AIPAC is running ads supporting my campaign, and let me be clear, we don't want it, we didn't ask for it, and we're demanding they stop. This is an attempt to smear my name by putting my name next to pro-genocide, pro-war, Trump-funded billionaires, same billionaires who funded Trump's fascist regime in hopes that it sticks. And since Laura Fine is sinking fast, I'll save you the trouble of shopping around. Daniel Biss has already asked for your support. He won't call what's happening in Gaza genocide, and he won't say no to any further military aid to Israel. You all actually even stopped attacking him a week ago. We all noticed. Go back to your actual candidate. Once I'm elected to Congress, I'm coming for dark money, starting with yours.
It's good that you pointed out those two candidates are.
And she's still in the race. She's not going to be the candidate if all the polling holds. It would be a huge statistical error if that ended up happening. So still, though,
it'd be very funny if AIPAC's ad actually pushed her into from basically out of contention.
I will say this, that in the event that Abigail wins, her issue set will have had, and you can add those points that AIPAC promoted there to her mandate in terms of what her job is going to be in Congress. But
I just wanted to because she mentions dark money here, and Matt mentioned it too. We still don't, I don't think, fully talk about it too much. I just wanted to show this graph really quickly. This is since the Citizens United decision. So Brennan Center for Justice had this, you see 2010 there. That's $144 million in terms of direct spending. That was prior to the Citizens United decision, where they determined that money is speech, and corporations have the right to freely speak, which means independent expenditures. They can spend as much as they want without going over the totals directly contributing to a campaign. This has been the dark money corruption explosion. It was only a fraction of super PACs being the expenditures there. Only $6.7 million I'm seeing is the figure in 2010 that super PACs were contributing versus the $144 million total spent. Now go to 2024. That's almost the entirety of all spending, $1.3 billion in super PAC money, which is where dark money comes from, versus the direct spending of $42.9 million. So we have, 1.4 billion, and a 1.3 billion of that in the last election cycle was so-called independent expenditures, which is what you're seeing there. Groups that are running advertisements on candidates' behalves, but not directly coordinating with them. This is kind of a rarer thing for AIPAC to be doing this without her consent, but it's been enabled by the fact that since 2010 we have legalized corruption, and everything we're seeing in this Trump era, all of the anti-democracy, the lack of input that we have on things like our foreign policy, and the responsiveness of both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, you can look at that chart and you can see that that's exactly what has been the erosion of our democracy and moved us towards oligarchy and fascism.
Well, I would also say that there's a reciprocal relationship to that, too, in the sense that wealth inequality is also why you have this explosion of spending.
Yep.
Because you have people out there, particularly, the crypto and AIPAC billionaires, who have so much money that the idea of dropping 20 million, 30 million, in the case of Trump, you had a couple of people drop 130, 150, 200 million, 250, $250 million from an individual, Elon Musk. The idea of doing that, or, what was it, 30 or 40 million dollars dropped on Sherrod Brown by crypto people in the 2024 Senate race, that wealth disparity is what we talk about when you go from a plutonomy to a plutocracy, where that amount of money ends up being problematic, not just because it drives things like inflation and housing inflation. We actually will talk about that report later in the program. But it also begins to really, I mean, we've always had a problem, but it really becomes stark when you have that type of wealth disparity. You suddenly have that type of like political power disparity.
Not compatible with democracy.
No. I think who was the founding father that said that? Or
is it John Adams?
I don't know, but I remember at the very least, I remember Brandeis said you can have a bunch of millionaires, or you can have a democracy. You can't have both. Something to that effect. We're going to get to some of the latest on President Trump and his war in Iran.
And on the Cuban people as well.
And on the Cuban people. First, a couple of words from our sponsor. You know that feeling when you walk out of a doctor's office and think, wow, they've made me feel so much better. The right doctor can make you feel lighter, clearer, more hopeful. I have a great doctor. I've had a doctor for, I don't know, since I've been in New York for 30 years. I'm terrified, though, because he's like starting to get old. And I mean, I'm getting old, but you know, the key is you want a doctor who's a little bit just like the same age as you or a little bit younger.
That's the key.
Yes. But he's a great doctor. He's and it feels great to have a great doctor. I used to have an amazing dentist too when I first got to New York. And then he quit. He went to go like coach his kids' soccer. But there is nothing better than finding the right doctor.
I found my dentist through ZocDoc, and I'm seeing that dentist tomorrow.
There you go.
Only dentist I've maybe ever liked.
See? And the beauty is with ZocDoc, you can find doctors like that every day of the week. ZocDoc is a free app and a website that helps you find and book high-quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers all across 50 states. My daughter has just found a new psychiatrist, psychologist, you know, therapy. I'm not, everybody's in therapy.
Yes.
Shrink. It doesn't matter whether you're looking for dermatology, dentistry, primary care, eye care, or one of the other 200 specialties offered on ZocDoc. You can easily search by specialty or symptom. When you're ready, you can see their real-time availability and click and book instantly. No phone tag, no waiting around. So you're not going to be like, going through a negotiation with somebody working at the front desk. Appointments made through ZocDoc happen fast, typically within just 24 to 72 hours of booking. You can even score same-day appointments. I want to thank ZocDoc for sponsoring today's episode. I've told the story where I was traveling, I had an emergency dental situation, found a dentist on ZocDoc. Stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/majority to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That's ZocDoc.com/majority. ZocDoc.com/majority. Thanks, ZocDoc, for sponsoring this message. We will put the link in the podcast and YouTube description. I have been loving my Cozy Earth stuff these days. Got into a fight with my girlfriend about her stealing my Cozy Earth socks. We're still getting along, but I said I'd get you some. She has I've got her a bunch of like the thick ones. Now she's starting to take my my 1/4 socks.
That's what happens.
Cozy Earth crafts every piece with care, from soft, supportive socks. They just wrote that in the copy to drive it through to me. Your steps through the day to breathable comforters that help you rest deeply at night. Every detail is intentional, so your everyday feels quietly elevated. For Saul's birthday, I got him a Cozy Earth comforter and duvet cover. Loves it. Their towels are fantastic, incredibly absorbent, incredibly soft. My favorite sweatshirt or hoodie continues to be my Cozy Earth hoodie made from viscose. It is both like light and cool and warm and like substantial. I don't know really how to describe it in any other way. Those Cozy Earth socks, they are a small grounding comfort designed for everyday life. Cozy Earth Essential socks are soft, breathable, and thoughtfully cushioned to support you from your first step to your last. These socks come in 4 styles: calf, quarter, ankle, and no-show. I have been going with the quarter, and that's a new thing for me, and I love it. Because you feel cool, but you also don't feel like you're too exposed. I like it a lot. And I showed you the maroon and gold ones.
You did.
Those are sharp socks.
Yeah. I had to get up and
I don't know what it
across the
is,
studio to see 'em.
but if you actually wear a pair of socks that look good, you can actually it makes you feel different. I don't know. They have comforters crafted with intention for support, deeper rest. They're designed with naturally breathable, temperature-regulating materials. They are incredibly soft comforters. They help your body settle. They're cool, calm, and gently supported through the night. Cozy Earth purchases are risk-free with their 100-night sleep trial. Try them out. If you don't love them, return them hassle-free. They get a 10-year warranty because once you feel this level of comfort, you're going to want it to last a decade. Thanks to Cozy Earth for sponsoring this episode. Discover how care... Excuse me.
Oh, whoa.
Yep. Discover how care in every detail transforms simple routines into moments of true comfort and ease. Head to CozyEarth.com. Use the code Majority Report, all one word, for up to 20% off. That's code Majority Report for up to 20% off. And if you get a post-purchase survey, be sure to mention you heard about Cozy Earth right here. Experience the craft behind the comfort. Make every day feel intentional. We'll put a link to that at the podcast and YouTube descriptions. Honestly, that Cozy Earth stuff is awesome.
It's phenomenal.
All right, let's get into this. We are still on the cusp of a quagmire. It seems from the various places I've been reading that it is unlikely that we will not be suffering the impact of this war economically for years to come. But it can still get worse. We're going to have an oil shock. We're going to have a food supply shock. And now it's just a question of how long will it last? How bad will it be? Will it drive the entire world into a recession? It really appears like they had no plan, or they had a plan A, which was the Israelis are going to take out the Ayatollah, and the entire society will implode, and people will come out in the streets despite the bombing that we're doing, and will overthrow the government. It now appears like there's very, very little chance of that happening, that it was ill thought out, and the nature of the Iranian society and its government was such that it was far more decentralized than they assumed. And now Trump is in the CYA part. And the problem is that the fear of humiliation, the fear of being seen as weak, means that the chances of Trump exiting this war are getting smaller. And apparently, the military keeps trying to feed him options on exit ramps. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. But here he is now claiming that none of this was predictable.
Thank you. You were talking about Iran a couple times today and what they did after Epic Fury began. You said they hit Qatar, Saudi Arabia, UAE, Bahrain, Kuwait. Nobody expected that. We were shocked. Are you surprised that nobody briefed you ahead of time that might be their retaliation?
Nobody, no. The greatest experts, nobody thought they were going to hit They were, I wouldn't say friendly countries. They were like neutral. They lived with them for years. Peter, they were going to take over the Middle East. They were going to knock out Israel with their nuclear weapon. But after we knocked out their nuclear potential, their nuclear...
Pause it for 1 second. I hope everybody sees the contradiction just in what he just said. Nobody thought that they would hit these countries at all. No experts. But what they were going to do was take over the entire Middle East. I mean, so, those are back-to-back statements. But continue on here. I mean, I just wanted to point out that 100% contradiction.
Peter, they were going to take over the Middle East. They were going to knock out Israel with their nuclear weapon. But after we knocked out their nuclear potential weapon, they started building missiles, thousands and thousands of missiles. And they were going to do it with missiles while they developed. These are sick people. While they developed nuclear, somehow they were going to start at a different site, because that site was, you saw the site, the mountain. They were going to go into a certain area, which we know exactly where it is, and they were going to do that. And it's incredible what we've done. I tell you, the job we've done. You know, if I didn't tell...
Okay. Let's get to that question as to whether there was any experts that could have possibly known this. Get number 2 up. This is a piece that was written on February 24th. Does anybody remember when we attacked? It was February 28th. And it was written by a guy named Nate Swanson, who is he was the director for Iran at the National Security Council between 2022 and 2025. In the spring and summer of 2025, he served on the Trump administration's Iran negotiating team, and he was rumored sometime in the fall of 2025, fired from his job because apparently Laura Loomer wanted him out. I mean, you actually start it gives you a better sense of who may be, sort of, because we've speculated, how did Laura Loomer get a list of people who needed to go in this administration? How is Laura Loomer, sitting in her studio and wherever she is in Florida or whatever it is, how does she know which members of the National Security Council are advocating in any way or whatnot? And my assumption has always been, and I continue to believe this, Stephen Miller is feeding her stuff, maybe, whatever, J.D. Vance is feeding her stuff.
Or literally the Israeli government or Zionist lobby. She is clearly in bed with them to some degree. And I mean, you say Loomer, that's not even an exaggeration. I remember Trita Parsi at the start of this war was saying that that was the scuttlebutt, was that at that time, Trump was listening to Lindsey Graham, Tom Cotton, and Laura Loomer.
No, she is the one who literally said this guy's name. Go back to this piece because we need to read part of it, because Donald Trump asked, who could have known this? Well, if you go down in that piece, keep going.
It's paywalled.
All right. Well, I will read it for you as you get the I had put the other link in there. Tehran. Okay, here we go. He's writing to the piece, why Iran will escalate. This is 4 days before we attacked. He may have had a sense that we were going to attack. In a speech last week, find this, Khamenei threatened to sink U.S. aircraft carrier and close the Strait of Hormuz. Tehran is unlikely to do either of these things, given the U.S. military buildup in the region, but it could more easily inflict U.S. casualties. Killing Americans may be a particularly appealing option. I'll go down. Iran may seriously consider targeting the Gulf Arab states' energy infrastructure.
Ding, ding, ding.
The U.S. has roughly 40,000 troops positioned across 13 regional bases, not including the significant naval and air power it's recently deployed to the Middle East. On February 19, Iran's ambassador to the UN warned the body that if the country were attacked, all nearby bases, facilities, and assets of the hostile force would constitute legitimate targets. So both this guy, who worked for the Trump administration before Laura Loomer decided he shouldn't, and Iran's ambassador to the UN gave a warning about this stuff.
Put me back up, right? Yeah, it's okay.
I mean,
yeah.
Finally, Tehran could target global oil flows in international shipping.
Of course.
Sending energy prices up and creating a serious political liability for Trump. I mean,
every administration prior to this knew that this was going to be a quagmire. So you don't even need this piece, but here we go.
Iran may well encourage the Houthis to resume attacking ships transiting the Red Sea. Watch for this. In the coming weeks, the Houthis have been quiet. But if Iran wants to shut down the supply of oil, the Houthis will start hitting ships because the Red Sea was sort of an alternate route for some of these tankers for Saudi Arabia. I mean, if the conflict with the U.S. state deepens, Iran may seriously consider targeting the Gulf Arab states' energy infrastructure directly. In 2019, during Trump's last maximum pressure campaign, Iran directly attacked Saudi Arabia's Akbek oil processing facility, the world's largest. That assault appeared to be designed to damage easily replaceable components, thus limiting the consequences to the global energy supply. But if Tehran instead assaulted infrastructure that it knows would take longer to repair, the results would be much more damaging.
It also is just common sense when you think about it, because the Iranians probably assumed, rightly so, as you had the administration saying that we did this to protect Israel, that they were not going to prioritize protecting the Gulf states as we throw billions and billions of dollars at Israel and we fund their missile defense system, the Iron Dome. More bang for your buck if you target the Gulf states. And yeah, that there's less of a lobby, to put it mildly, here in the U.S., but in terms of financial interests, like, these countries are trying to expand to the West and to ingratiate themselves to European and American tourists, and they're working themselves financially into our sports industries, and they have crypto deals with a bunch of American and Western capitalists. So Iran is thinking, okay, we can do this relatively cheaply, even with drone attacks, save our more sophisticated missiles for the Iron Dome, and hit them where it hurts when we need to. And we still don't even know fully what the damage is from those missiles because of Israeli censorship. So you got to wonder what strategic thinking was involved here, if any at all, or if you have just a deeply racist administration. And it seems like Hegseth is calling a lot of the shots here, and we know how he feels about Muslim people, both in Iran and in the Gulf states, where they literally they don't care. I mean, those Gulf states are just like filled with billions and billions of dollars, and they probably were arrogant enough to think that, like, yeah, they'll take their hits, but they don't have any democracy there, so who cares if some of the people are harmed?
Yeah, the leadership is like how Israel's sort of outgrowth of the military-industrial complex. A lot of those Gulf state monarchies are outgrowth of just the global oil industry.
Absolutely.
And the bottom line is, to the extent that they had experts on Iran, they did not want to listen to them, or somebody arranged for those to be fired. I mean, obviously, Donald Trump had no idea that this guy existed. And Laura Loomer sent a list, and they were gone. And so anybody who could warn the president, or through the chain of command, as to the dangers inherent in this, were taken out months ago from the administration anyways. But here is Trump. On one hand, he had no idea about this. No idea that they would attack. How could one possibly know? Here's clip number 8. No, excuse me. I'm sorry, 7. He had no idea, but he did know some other things. This is number 7.
I knew about the Strait, that it would be a weapon, which I predicted a long time ago. Predicted all of this stuff. You guys were very generous in that. I predicted all of it. I predicted Osama bin Laden would knock out the World Trade Center. I made that prediction a year before he did it. I said, you better get him. He's a bad guy. I watched him be interviewed one time, and I said, that's a bad guy. You better get him. 1 year before, exactly. I wrote it in a book. You can even check about a year before the World Trade Center then came down. President Clinton actually had a shot at him, and he didn't take it. Unfortunately, I'm not blaming him for that, but he didn't take it. And he ended up knocking down the World Trade Center, but I predicted that too. I predicted a lot of things. We strongly encouraged. I knew.
Okay.
When we're looking at this as kind of neocon Don, maybe Bush Bush term 3, and I think that we should be talking about like the catastrophe in the Middle East in those terms. It's almost like the reverse of when Trump looked into Putin's heart and he saw Pooty Poot, he could work with
He's a
him.
stablemate.
Trump looked into Osama's heart and saw that he was a bad guy. He's also using like a very similar logic for the war in Iran as well.
We should also say that this is not the first time that Trump has made this claim that he had predicted 9/11. Here's a story. Let's go to the. Is this the top one?
This is the most recent here, right here.
This is from. Okay. This is from March the 16th. Delusional Trump 79 falsely claims he predicted 9/11. That's one piece, but it's not the first time he has said this. Let's go to the next one. This one is a fact check from October 6th in 2025. Trump falsely claims again that his pre-9/11 book warned about Osama bin Laden. That was fact checked by Daniel Dale. But again, it's not the first time he's said this. And so this is from October 27th, 2019. Fact check. Trump falsely claims his 2000 book demanded the killing of Osama bin Laden.
Well, to be fair, he didn't probably write his book, so he may need a refresher on his own book as to what's in it.
I told the writer, and he forgot to write.
He forgot. Did you? The other part that was so Bush that I was thinking about was when he said he was asked the other day, when will this war end? He said, when I feel it in my bones. It really reminded me about how Bush spoke about how it was him listening to his gut that led him on foreign policy. And so
it's subliterate.
Yeah, I mean, it's just important to point out these consistencies, whether it was John Bolton being consistent across the administration, or just like the same infrastructure of the neocons that Marco Rubio was a part of, or Hegseth being a guy that was lobbying to overturn the convictions of war criminals in Iraq. As you have a class of people in media that had a lot of influence saying that this administration was going to be anti-war and dovish back to Hillary the Hawk and Donald the Dove in the New York Times, you would have to have no understanding of the Republican Party, no understanding of neoconservatives, no understanding of their philosophy to understand that. And here we are once again in another quagmire in the Middle East.
And let's take the other claim that he made in that statement, which was that he knew they would weaponize the Strait of Hormuz. If you knew this and you were about to launch an invasion, and you knew, like, okay, we need to figure out a way of preventing them from weaponizing the Strait of Hormuz. We know that Donald Trump has gone to NATO and has gone to European countries, asked China, asked Japan, hey, you need to help us escort ships out of the Strait of Hormuz. And the idea being that Iran may not want to blow up ships that are not American because they don't want to expand their enemy list here.
I think he actually just doesn't want them to hit Americans because he'll get blowback. So he's asking to the European like young men and women to be on the front lines of his illegal offensive criminal war in Iran, and is like, I'll take NATO membership. I will threaten NATO funding if you don't acquiesce.
Well, yes, and the point being, though, is that Iran is going to be more hesitant to fire or send a drone against a ship from China or from Japan or from NATO. So Trump has begged them. But you would imagine if he predicted this, you would line those ducks up before the war started, right? Like even George Bush attempted to have a coalition of the willing. It got very, very small by the end, and was sort of like people were pulled in, dragged, and kicking. But Donald Trump did not do that, and it seems that they have all rejected him, and so much so that the Iranians now have taken a page from the Trump administration and produced their own AI video where they are mocking how the rest of the world is not listening to Donald Trump.
Podcast audience.
Boat gently down. Merrily, 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 merrily.
So that's Macron,
Macron in a
and Starmer
Gently down the street.
driving past Trump.
Hey, I can't do the water splash.
Come on, stop. I know how it feel to wake up, fucked up, pockets broke as hell of another
Oh, they
Well,
did.
the
Why
realistic-
nobody helps me to open Hormuz?
That's pretty good. The coalition of the willing is a little bit easier to pull off when Bush's approval rating is not what Trump's is right now. The approval rating for the Iraq War is not what the approval rating for the Iran War is right now.
Oh my God. I mean, the approval rating for the Iraq War in the days leading up to it was somewhere in the high 80s, maybe low 90s. I can tell you, it was so isolating to be against the Iraq War. And that's what's so strange about this moment is like, I don't think that this show has the ability to really reach any significant number of people who are in favor of this. Like, when I was on Air America, we would be reaching people who were in favor of the Iraq War, even as late as 2004. Because there were so many people. Take this clip. Do we have that clip from Michael Moore? This is the bowling from Columbine. He won this Oscar just literally, I think it was a week or two after, maybe just days after the beginning of the Iraq bombing and invasion. Shock and awe happened a couple of days before. Michael Moore won the Oscar for Best Documentary for Bowling for Columbine, which was about the mass gun shootings. So this is roughly the end of March 2003 were the Oscars. And shock and awe happened in mid-March, I think it was.
March 19th and the 20th that night, into midnight it went in.
And so this was like 3 or 4 days later, actually. And so here's Michael Moore, but I want you to get a sense of just how popular George Bush and the Iraq War were. You'll get a sense from this room full of Hollywood elites. Moore comes up on stage with a lot of people.
On behalf of our producers, Kathleen Glynn and Michael Donovan from Canada, I'd like to thank the Academy for this. I've invited my fellow documentary nominees on the stage with us, and we would like to, they are here in solidarity with me because we like nonfiction. We like nonfiction, and we live in fictitious times. We live in a time where we have fictitious election results that elects a fictitious president. We live in a time where we have a man sending us to war for fictitious reasons, whether it's the fictition of duct tape or the fictitious of orange alerts. We are against this war, Mr. Bush. Shame on you, Mr. Bush. Shame on you. And anytime you've got the Pope and the Dixie Chicks against you, your time is up. Thank you very much.
I'm sure they're playing him off now.
I mean,
Liberal
you
Hollywood.
could see that the shot of the audience was really telling, where nobody wanted to speak up. You had one guy in there.
It looked like
clapping.
Scorsese was about to start clapping.
There, right there. I mean, that one is where everybody's just like, I wouldn't put myself out like that.
Who's the blonde lady clapping there? Is that Nicole Kidman? Oh, okay. Well, maybe not. But
you see, there one guy in there who's actually really. I mean, this is what it was like at that time.
It's probably a seat filler.
And I don't also want to like say things have improved in terms of what the approval rating for this war in particular was. But just because we had the Oscars on Sunday, there was one speech that mentioned the Gaza genocide, and it was Javier Bardem. And I know Joachim Trier said something afterwards about Sudan and Congo and Gaza, but like in the midst of our country funding a genocide, the fact that that was really the only display at this point of opposition is deeply upsetting. But like that mood there it was reflected in the poll numbers, Bush's approval rating and the approval rating for the Iraq war. So Trump is maybe, a continuation of Bush, but he certainly doesn't have the nationalism that came from 9/11 to buoy him into this criminal war.
Or even look, the Bush administration went through a lot of trouble to make up a lot of lies to justify it. They leaked information directly from the White House to Judith Miller, who was a reporter at the time for the New York Times, saying that Saddam Hussein had access to weapons of mass destruction. And then Dick Cheney, the next day, the office that leaked it to her via Scooter Libby, went on Meet the Press at a time where Meet the Press actually had some valence and said, I'm just quoting the New York Times to prove that there are weapons of mass destruction. They've done the reporting. This isn't coming from us. I mean, we have stuff that also verifies it, but we can see that it's public information. You had Colin Powell use all of his cachet and sit in front of the UN and hold up a vial of fake anthrax to say there are weapons of mass destruction there. And Lieutenant Colonel Wilkinson, who years later, I think, went on a sort of a reputation rebuilding tour, said that it was the worst day of his life and that Colin Powell, knew. They were just basically whitewashing the stuff that the CIA, I can't remember his name now, was sitting behind him at the UN. And so there was a concerted effort to lie to the United States, to people. And of course, like you say, it was in the wake of 9/11. The country was largely in shock. In this instance, Trump just it was almost like in the same way that, I might decide I'm going to go see a movie if I don't have my kids. So it was like that loosey-goosey.
And hopefully we'll have a guest on to speak about not just the human toll of this bombing campaign in Iran, but the ecological toll that is going to be felt by people for decades. To have the President of the United States have the capacity to engage in this bombing campaign on a whim is the direct result, to bring it back to Iraq, of the lack of accountability that the war criminals in the Bush administration were able to experience. The fact that Dick Cheney died outside of a jail cell, the fact that Bush is painting and on his ranch in Texas, Condoleezza Rice, she's like, a consultant for the Denver Broncos or something. I mean, it's absolutely insane. And that was because the Democrats were complicit in it. Many Democrats, including Hillary Clinton, supported the Iraq War. Joe Biden, Chuck Schumer. How are these people still influencing the party? If we had prosecuted these people, if we had also removed there had been a war powers vote, if the authorizations for the use of military force had been rescinded, then perhaps Trump wouldn't be able to do this on a whim. But this is the result of that lack of accountability.
Let's go to number 6. This is as we are continue to bomb Iran, as the Israelis continue to bomb Iran. Israel is very busy these days because
Lebanon too.
The Israelis are not only having their police and IDF kill people in the West Bank, not only are they still bombing Gaza, but they are now apparently prepping for a ground invasion of Lebanon, as they bomb southern Lebanon first, and then will come in with a ground invasion, supposedly. Here is Donald Trump being asked about that bombing in Lebanon.
Israel is expected to expand its ground offensive in southern Lebanon to go after Hezbollah. Have you discussed that with Israeli leaders?
Yeah.
And does the United States support a potential Israeli invasion of Lebanon?
Yeah, no, I did, and I know look, Hezbollah is a problem. It's been a problem for a long time, not just now, and it's a certain area because I was with the other night a person whose parents live in Lebanon. This is a very substantial person, wealthy person, whose parents live in Lebanon. I said, really?
Can you
How do
pause
live in
this? Just,
Lebanon?
we
Your
don't
pa-
even. He's talking about almost certainly Tiffany Trump's husband. Just
You live there?
so this is the decision.
I just found this out for the first time. I mean, they've only been married for a while.
People in my circle actually live there.
Also, which one is it? Has Hezbollah completely been decapitated and degraded? Wasn't that the Israeli claim last year in the same way that Iran's nuclear program was totally obliterated by the Israelis last year? Now suddenly Hezbollah's back and they were able to build a nuke in like record scientifically impossible time.
They're displacing hundreds of thousands of people
Almost
to create a new buffer zone.
Almost 1 million people in Lebanon. They are at the beginning of the greater Israel offensive, and they're going for Lebanon first. And Trump is now saying, because of some anecdote from his least probably favorite son-in-law, although maybe Tiffany Trump is higher up on there now if this guy's rich. He's like, now that's his justification, this lunatic.
I can't remember who I got this from on Twitter, but in 1919, Chaim Weizmann and David Ben-Gurion attended the 1919 Paris Peace Conference, which ended World War I. They presented a map containing the boundaries of their hoped-for Israeli state. The map includes what is now Lebanon's Litani River, which is in southern Lebanon. So,
just conquest. That's what's happening.
Yep. And they are now, they've apparently sent leaflets to depopulate the entire area south of the Litani River. That is 10% of Lebanese territory. And like you say, home to, somewhere around 300,000 to 400,000 people in more than 150 villages and towns. But here's Trump giving the answer. Like, I actually know somebody who knows people who live in Lebanon, but, it's not that area. So what was the question? Go ahead.
Long time, not just now. And it's a certain area because I was with the other night a person whose parents live in Lebanon. This is a very substantial person, wealthy person, whose parents live in Lebanon. I said, really? How do you live in Lebanon? Your parents are living? Oh, yeah, they live there. And over the years, they've gotten used to the fact that it's being bombed. But they explained to me that it's really a different section of Lebanon. It's the section where Hezbollah is. And they get used to it, I guess. I don't know. I mean, people live in Ukraine. You would think they wouldn't live in Ukraine, but they live in Ukraine. I don't know that I'd do that, but they live in Ukraine. They live in Lebanon. Hezbollah is a big problem, and they're rapidly being eliminated. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate it.
Thank you. First off, what also strikes me about this is this dude has no concept of like that there
Other
are
countries?
human beings living in other countries. Like he can't even imagine it. It's like, it's hard enough for me to like New York, Miami. I mean, it's similar stuff. It's
not even a Trump golf course near there.
There's Ruth Chris at both places, and you can play golf at both places. And I got Trump, but he can't. He's lived in such a bubble that he can't even contemplate the idea of living in another country, and.
Or at least like wealthy people that he would converse with.
Well, he's like, why wouldn't you just move?
I mean, I get why peasants live there, but why you live
Right. I would never build a property there. He's also lying. They haven't just been bombing the South. Days ago, they bombed central Beirut. They've killed around 1,000 people, including around 100 children. let alone, by the way, since this war in Iran has started, the aid flowing into Gaza has been choked off significantly. There's likely to be a hunger crisis, the price of food. You know what happens in these situations. The people that have it and can sell it, they'll raise the money. This is like some of the, raise the cost. It's about to be another devastating situation in Gaza, and everybody's living in tents. Oh, and there was a sandstorm. I mean, like the conditions on the strip are there to designed to make sure that people die slowly if they can't die quickly by bombing.
Let's move on to, and on some level, like, if there is a hope that Trump will be convinced to take an off-ramp for this disaster regarding Iran, which could be even a greater disaster. And like I say, NBC reported that the military are desperately trying to sort of like put into their options menu for him off-ramp opportunities. My suggestion would be to write that stuff in like gold. Put
it on a trophy.
We did different color codings for things. This one is the gold one.
Or put them on the sashes of a beauty contest.
Exactly. Or yes, just to like configure the typing so that it's like in the shape of two breasts or something. But honestly, like, it will come at the expense of another country. And we have, when we kidnapped the president of Venezuela and apparently made a deal with his underling, it was basically no, among other things, no oil for Cuba. And we have enforced an embargo on this country that represents zero threat to us. Zero threat. Cuba represents, I don't even think people make the argument that there's a threat anymore.
He's not making that argument. With Iran, they're making these false claims like Iran was about to attack Israel, Iran's about to attack the United States.
They
but
said the same thing about Venezuela. Like, Venezuela was going to, Venezuela is dangerous. They were maybe responsible for stealing.
They're not even bothering to say this because it's so clearly this like revenge for the right-wing Cuban diaspora.
Fascists.
And for capitalists that feel like, wow, Cuba right off our shores is socialist and didn't succumb to our covert operations and our attempts to make them into our someplace where we could extract from. So we're going to punish them.
And here is Cuba is now suffering a countrywide blackout because of their inability to get things like oil and other support and probably parts for their grid. And understand, you're on dialysis.
Yep.
I think it was like 3,000 or 4,000 people on dialysis there. If you're on ventilators, I mean,
you have a baby in the ICU.
Just people are going to die. People are going to die because of this. But here's Donald Trump explaining it in the way that I don't know, you would if you had just roofied somebody.
I was just with a fantastic person who's Cuban and made a fortune in sugar, Fanjul family, right? And this family wants to go back to Cuba to visit it. They haven't been back in like 50 years or something. They largely come from Cuba. And we'll see what happens. They were asking me about that. They want to go back. Not only Fanjul, a lot of Cubans have said, "Oh boy, would they love to go back." I think Cuba, I don't know, it's in its own way, if tourism and everything else. It's a beautiful island, great weather. They're not in a hurricane zone, which is nice for a change. They won't be asking us for money for hurricanes every week. But I think Cuba's the end. All my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, think I can do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth? They're a very weakened nation right now. They were for a long time. Very violent leaders. Castro was a very violent leader. His brother's a very violent leader.
We tried to assassinate for 50 years.
That's how they governed. They governed with violence. But a lot of people would like to go back. Okay.
Incidentally, I mean, we've seen what ICE has been doing, right? Talk about governing with violence. And to be clear, I mean, there was a lot of political repression in Cuba. There was more probably under Batista, and a lot more deprivation under Batista, for sure.
And you can understand with the U.S. being right off their shores why
trying
there
to
was
assassinate their heads of state the entire time. Like, this is our fault.
Castro escaped that dozens of times.
It's not a product of socialism, then that's ridiculous.
No.
It's a matter of propaganda that it is.
No, it's not a product of that. I mean, it's a product of a country completely under siege. But the idea that he's going to take Cuba, and I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. And incidentally, all those people who want to visit Cuba, they've been able to visit Cuba, I think, since the Obama administration, when we had taken them off the terror watch list.
But the rich sons of the sugar barons say that they want to go back there.
Grandparents, grandkids now.
Grandkids.
Probably the grandsons.
Those were plantations. It was slavery. It was a mobocracy and slaveocracy that was overthrown by a revolution that wasn't even Marxist until America forced it to be.
To be fair, the Haitian slaves, they paid reparations for over 20 years to the French. So if you're going to be freed, you got to pay the people who owned you.
There's a fee for that.
By the way, Trump called them the shithole country. And do you think that the fact that they had to pay reparations for daring to free themselves from chattel slavery might have something to do with Haiti's impoverished situation? I don't
Haiti
know.
had to pay up to something like, I don't know what it was, like 40% of its GDP up until the 1940s. To France,
I just
for freeing them.
Yes, but when he says that about the hurricane thing, right?
Well, that was
I mean, the other part is, one, he's completely disconnected from reality. I just looked it up on the New York Times. Cuba has had 10 major hurricanes in the last 25 years, including a Category 3 last year. But when he says they're not going to be asking us for money, he's sneering at Puerto Rico. So he's saying that he wants to turn Cuba into another territory of the United States, but they'll be a little bit more fun for us because we can maybe reopen those casinos that some of my buddy Roy Cohn's friends were really into back in the old days of them bringing us to, including a complete return to open colonialism, as he says it, just instant.
No hurricanes. See, I looked at the weather map, and I just... somebody wrote that. No hurricanes.
No hurricanes.
A very rich guy told me that there's no hurricanes.
No hurricanes there.
They don't like Castro either. So, I mean,
I wonder if somebody says to him, there are hurricanes there. I guess we won't take them.
He's saying we have to recolonize Cuba, and there's no strategy here. Like, what Obama understood was that normalizing relations with Cuba and moving towards that kind of relationship is actually more strategically beneficial. It makes no sense for us to have this acrimonious, completely cut off relationship with a country that's just a few, what?
Well,
Some miles
we
off
could
our
put
shores.
good crypto regulation, and that could be worthwhile.
Yes, but yeah.
There's a bipartisan support for this strangling, and it's because there's fascists in our government that want this for ideological reasons. And this is not just a Trump thing. All the previous administrations that had tried to assassinate Castro, it's the same sort of thing. It's lunatics, militaristic, jingoistic lunatics, particularly the Cubans, but that's who's running our foreign policy. It's no surprise that we're doing this in Cuba and also doing this insane shit in Iran right now. It's because fascists are in power.
Yeah, this is why I'm hesitant to assign a ton of strategic thinking to the way that they're acting here, because I really do think a lot of these guys, Hegseth is just an anti-Muslim bigot, and that's a big part of his history, and I think that he enjoys seeing people in Iran suffering. The Cuban diaspora here, they're the right-wing Cuban diaspora, they're just out for revenge. It doesn't matter if it doesn't make sense strategically.
Out for money.
And out for money too, sure.
But it's
a pipe dream.
Well, they think that if there is an implosion, if Trump takes Cuba or whatever that means, that they're going to get reparations, that they're going to get either land or they're going to get payments that will be annuities for years and years to come. I mean, that is.
I guess it doesn't matter really either way.
100%.
It's part of it, but I also think we shouldn't underestimate that these are legitimately white supremacists in this, specifically as it relates to Iran. With Cuba, there's a blend of both revenge and like capitalist interest, but like these people really are sadistic because like Mearsheimer has pointed out, Putin is a awful leader or whatever, but he is thinking strategically. Xi Jinping is thinking strategically. The Iranian government is thinking strategically. I'm not sure we have a government that is thinking strategically. It's just bloated off of like a military industrial complex. That's a machine that's almost moving and rolling down a hill and gaining momentum as it goes.
Honestly, I think like the one opportunity to end Iraq would be the military saying like, well, if you really want to go for Cuba, what we really need to do is bring some of those ships back.
But it also our Israel policy isn't thinking strategically too. Even when it went to Biden, because we had people in the intelligence community saying this is a liability for us. The amount of weaponry that we're flooding in, it's going to jeopardize relationships with the other Arab nations in the area. Like the war machine has so corrupted our government that is almost operating autonomously, and it's like pushing, and the politicians are a big part of it. That's what it feels like to me.
It certainly doesn't. I mean, I don't think you're going to find a lot of people in the government who feel like this is that's the point. Nobody can figure out what the end game is. Like, what is supposed to happen? What is the material difference if Iran is degraded, or I guess they had this idea, which does not seem to be the case. Maybe it will be that Iran will implode and you'll get a monarchy there, and then we can have a whole Middle East full of just of monarchs, and there'll be much more stability. I don't know what the argument is.
This is the problem with all the liberals saying, I don't agree with how we did the Maduro thing, but he was a problem. Because there's no vision for what kind of world they want to create. Guess who has a vision? All the fascists in Florida who are former Cubans, they have a vision. It's like Emma said, it's not a strategic one, it's an insane one. It's at least a vision. You can put a military in charge of going after it. Same with Greater Israel. That's an insane vision. It's a vision. What vision do the liberals have in the world right now besides?
It's a great point. And it's all, even like this crypto stuff and the AI push, that's not strategic either. Trump getting rid of all of the credits for greening our economy, that's not strategic if you were thinking about the interests of the country. But that's when I say, like, we've been corrupted by big money. Like, the democracy is not functional. And that's why, like, these people are not operating even within the best interests of what the population or what, like, furthering America would be. Trump knows he's dying. He talks about it all the goddamn time. So now is time to get what we've always wanted. Netanyahu, Trump, all of these guys are acting in their own self-interest, and so are these capitalist interests, knowing that people are banging down the door and demanding some sort of like material benefit for them. So they got to get while the getting is good. And it's very dangerous.
It's analogous to the stage of capitalism we're in, where you have CEOs and board of directors are in this stage where they're basically running cottage industries within these major corporations. You look at like a guy like Zaslav, who's going to be selling the Warner Brothers. He's going to make $900 million. They're going to be firing thousands of people, but he will make $900 million. Everything that he's been doing as the head of this company has been geared towards enriching himself. There is no company. There is no notion of like, as much of a fascist as Ford was, there is no notion that like I need to have my workers be able to afford my products. This is all about extraction. Mm-hmm. And so the extraction is, there is no way that Donald Trump was not enticed into this without thinking about personal enrichment. I don't know what it is, but I just like, he has no vision for going after Iran outside of what's going to line his pockets in some fashion. And I don't know where that incentive comes from. We may know down the road, but
well, you see that, by the way, like U.S. oil and gas companies are actually doing quite well in the stock market right now.
Of course, because the bottom line is they're pulling out the exact same amount of oil as they were before. And it costs them the same amount to extract it, except for the price they're getting now is 20 or 30% higher. This is just massive profits for these oil companies. At the gas station, you'll be paying 30% more. It will cost more, but it doesn't cost any more to produce. It just means that there is one part of the market that's not delivering it there. Like if you're a dairy farm and you're selling milk and your neighbor's farm burns down, it doesn't cost you any more to produce any milk. And if you have the ability to go like, well, I see there's now double the amount of buyers for my milk, I can raise the price. That's where it's at.
Yeah, and like I also think it's important here to just look at how and there is a real difference between when people describe themselves as anti-war in this current context versus having an anti-colonial mindset and like a belief in kind of diplomacy. Because Trump says he's anti-war, but he frames that as, well, peace through strength. We're not putting American boots on the ground yet, but I'm anti-war because I'm going to hit them so hard and poison millions of people potentially for generations to come and kill hundreds of girls in a school because I'm anti-war, because this is the only language that these people understand. That's what Pete Hegseth said in 2020 on Fox News. That's how they feel. So, like, if you don't understand politics as if you think anti-war is enough, then you don't really look at things like, you know, how like Césaire spoke about how fascism, the imperial boomerang, how fascism and colonial politics inform one another, how the violence that is inflicted upon the rest of the world eventually comes home. And when you elect a fascist and expect him to be anti-war, I don't know, I've got a bridge to sell you, because he's not going to have an anti-colonial perspective, one that like elevates all people and is egalitarian. And you can even see that in the far-right commentators that are critical of Israel. It's a similar mindset. They don't view their project as uplifting all people. They view it as supremacy for certain groups over the other. And the split in the Republican Party over Israel is whether it's elevating Christian Zionists or whether it's saying that it's Christians that say that Zionism isn't the way to go. But either way, both visions are about Christians having supremacy, and that's like a major, and that's who populates the federal government right now.
All right, we're going to take a break, head into the fun half of the program, wherein you can join us, and I am the show if you are a member. Go to jointhemajorityreport.com to become a member today. Jointhemajorityreport.com. Also, justcoffee.coop. Fair trade coffee, hot chocolate. Use the coupon code MAJORITY. You will get 10% off of your coffee purchases. Matt, what's happening in the Matt Leckian media universe?
Yeah, coming up right after the show today on YouTube and Twitch, Left Reckoning, we're talking with Nathan Robinson and Alex Skopik, who are going on this Nuestra America convoy to Cuba to break this blockade and bring in aid to Cuba. Appalling what our government's doing. And also Brendan Sutton, we're talking about Alex Jones and the PBD crew reacting to the Iran war. So a fun show and infuriating one at the same time. So patreon.com/Left Reckoning to get the Sunday show.
All right, folks. See you in the fun half.
3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow.
What? What is that going on? It's nuts.
Wait a second. Hold on for a second.
The Majority Report.
Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.
What is up, everyone? Nomi Key.
You did it.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Bradley, you want to say hello?
Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm just a random guy.
It's all the boys today.
Fundamentally false.
No, I'm sorry. Women's
Stop talking
Oh,
for
wow.
a second. Now let me finish.
Where is this coming from, dude?
But dude, you want to smoke this 7A?
Yes.
Hi, me? Is it?
Yes.
Is this me?
Is it me?
It is you.
Is this me? Hello, is this me?
I think it is you. Who is you? No sound. Every single frickin' day. What's on your mind?
Sports. We can discuss free markets and we can discuss capitalism.
I'm gonna go throw up.
Who libertarians? They're so stupid though. Common sense says, of course.
gobbledygook.
We fucking nailed him.
So what's 79 plus 21?
Challenge met.
I'm positively quivering.
I believe 96, I want to say.
857-210-35-501. 1/2. 3/8.
9/11, for instance.
$3,400, $1,900.
6, 5, 4, $3 trillion sold. It's a zero-sum game.
Actually, you're making me think less of it.
But let me say this. Poop.
You can call it satire. Sam goes, it's satire.
On top of it all,
Yeah.
my favorite part about you is just like every day, all day, like
Yeah.
everything you do.
Without a doubt. Hey, buddy, we see you. All right, folks.
It's just the week being weeded out, obviously.
Yeah, sun's out, guns out. I don't know.
But you should know.
People just don't like to entertain ideas anymore.
I have a question. Who cares?
Our chat is enabled, folks.
I love it.
I do love that.
Look, gotta jump. Gotta be quick. I gotta jump.
I'm losing it, bro.
2 o'clock. We're already late, and the guy's being a dick. So screw him. Sent to a gulag?
Outrageous.
Like, what is wrong with you?
Love you, bye.
Love you. Bye-bye. Hey, folks, it is the fun half. We're going to open up the phones in a moment. Serena says, can I get a shout out for my Bella girl? She's 13 and a half, pretty deaf and blind, and has a collapsed trachea, so she's going to the Rainbow Bridge this Saturday.
Oh,
She's a long-time listener, too. She promises to say hi to Michael for all of us. Bella, have a safe trip there.
I'm so sorry. That's really, really
Horrible.
hard.
Yes, I have been there.
Yeah,
it is bad.
me too.
And Trump Change says, shofar request for my Hungarian wife who just found out that she's 36% Ashkenazi Jewish. Many of her Jewish friends have suspected as much for years. There you go.
Interesting.
Should we do this? Yeah. Okay. Let's do this. We'll make this fun before we go to the phones. This is Tim Pool. What does Tim Pool have to say?
He's talking about Zoran and his tax policy.
Oh, I see. Because West Virginia, what?
Well, I think he's in Florida now.
Oh, is he in Florida? No,
he's actually in Texas right now.
Is he homeless?
I think he's on the lam.
What's he going? Is he moving his family around like this? Doesn't he have a family? Doesn't he have a kid?
I don't know.
You keep claiming that, but I have not seen any evidence to that effect.
Well, I mean, I don't understand keeping your family private, but dragging them around, or is he going solo?
Look,
Well, he
babe,
might-
I got to hit the road.
You might need to protect them because it's hunting season in West Virginia.
Right.
Well, they don't hunt in Texas.
Keep them moving.
Have framed this as Zoran Mamdani finally admitting it. Working class and middle class New Yorkers are fleeing the city. It is not just the rich. And the reason why? It's not just taxes.
Oh, pause
the
it for 1
cost of
second.
living
I'm
is
sorry.
ridiculous.
What is going on? Does he change his accent to like as he gets to Texas and all of a sudden he's talking like he's from I just came from the Bronx.
Okay.
And,
So I haven't seen this clip. Gotta say, he finally admits it. What is he talking about? This was central to Zoran Mamdani's campaign. He said that he wanted to make the city more affordable because working class and middle class New Yorkers are leaving the city.
Emma,
he's not saying that it's because of his policies. He's saying that his policies are designed to slow that roll.
Listen, here's the point. He's been a mayor for almost 2.5 months, and we still it took him so long to get rid of the snow that people had to move. Okay,
I guess.
Ridiculously high. They're letting why? It's not just taxes. The cost of living is ridiculously high. They're letting in tons of illegal immigrants and giving them free stuff and free places to live. And then, of course, yeah, you have the threat of raising taxes on the poor. Well, Zoran Mamdani has said he wants...
Can we just zero in on the Nazi lie that the reason things are unaffordable is because we're giving so much to undocumented people? Like, how is this just repeated?
How does that even work?
Yeah, like...
The problem is when you go to Key Food, all the food is gone because they're giving it to the undocumented who get here through a teleportation machine, and they get all the food. And then the rest of us, we have to auction off the remaining food that's left after the undocumenteds get it.
This is his New York segment. Forget about it.
There's a recent study that came out that we'll probably talk about in the future that goes into why housing, for instance, is so expensive.
Oh, we'll talk about that.
And they,
it's all the undocumented living in the nice apartment buildings. I walk around here in Brooklyn with all the things.
Funny enough, they don't even mention
doing the bowling alleys in there.
It's not even mentioned, the undocumented people, because it's not relevant to anyone with a fucking brain on this topic. The real issue is, surprise, inequality.
Oh, okay.
To tax the rich, that won't work either because the wealthy have already been fleeing as well. On top of this, there is a new proposal to strip down the death tax exemption to $750K. The argument being, well, how many people actually make more or have more than that? The end result is obvious.
Can you pause it?
You will own nothing.
I mean, he's just saying death tax, and he pretends not to be political anymore. It would be like calling, if I were to come out here and like call Democrats the Democrat Party, I'd be like, I'm actually on the left, or what? I mean, maybe that's not a good example, but he's using literally like poll-tested Republican terms to talk about protecting estates from taxation. I'm sure the audience that he's like speaking to is like, this is so relevant to my life.
Yeah, and this is also the property tax proposal that is going to be the second option if we don't decide to tax the 30,000 or so ultra rich that Mamdani wants to tax. But lowering this, we can get into the tax policy in a second.
We can.
The poor, the property taxes really affect the poor.
But of course he's using like, but I mean.
Well, what they're saying is like, what if you just have, you want to give your $751,000 apartment to your kid? Now they're out of luck. But my understanding is it's about a primary residence, so you'd be fine, actually.
Yeah.
And you will be happy. These policies will not work. And then I actually question whether or not New Yorkers really wanted this guy to be in charge of their city, or if our system is just so corrupt that evil people will steal power in whatever way they can. Now, here's the video from Zoran where he basically says the quiet part.
He beat Cuomo in 2 elections, like massively handily, despite Cuomo having a massive fundraising.
But he's using the Nazi lie that it's illegal immigrants, in his view, that are stealing the election for Zoran.
In whatever way they can. Now, here's the video from Zoran where he basically says the quiet part loud. Working class people are out. But I got to be honest, I don't know that it's actually an admission so much as he's just pointing out this is a thing that's happening. And so at least I can say thanks for being honest. But listen to what he has to say here.
Incidentally, Mamdani has been mayor for 9 weeks.
Yes.
And ran on the premise that it was getting too expensive for these people to leave. Yeah. But now I see he's actually saying it again.
He's saying working class people, you're out.
All he's done is, in 9 weeks, is been able to get universal child care, but just for a year so far. Okay, so very suspicious.
This really became a Worcester accent. Right.
So much as people are out. But I got to be honest, I don't know that it's actually an admission so
not.
much as he's just pointing out this is a thing that's happening. And so at least I can say thanks for being honest. But listen to what he has to say here in this clip.
Amidst being in the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world, we already see an exodus of working and middle-class New Yorkers. So I don't have a hesitation in asking those who make the most amount of money in the city or the most profits in the city to pay a little bit more so that everyone can actually stay in this city. It's also something not just about justice or the ability for working class people to live here. It is also actually about ensuring that corporations can continue to attract the top talent to this city.
Pause it. Okay,
your-
so he admits, and I want people to pay attention to this, because if they had been following his campaign, they would see that he's been admitting from the time that he started his campaign, even till now, that the city is unaffordable for middle class
and working class.
He admitted
people.
the city's unaffordable.
He admitted it. And you'll notice he's repeating the same thing that he has said with almost a pathological discipline since the day that he started his campaign, which is wealthy people are supposedly going to leave if I raise taxes minimally, but middle class and working class people are already leaving because they can't afford it. You notice that he's been saying that consistently. What's that about?
Corruption.
Corruption! Go ahead.
Or not. Guys, I'm going to tell you something very, very simply and straightforward, and I hope Zoran Mamdani listens, because I genuinely
I'm
hope
sure he will.
actually thinks about what can make the city better. Now, there's a reason why many people believe Zoran
don't live
Mamdani's
here.
true intentions
Pause
are
it for
to
a
just
second.
cause harm.
Has Tim Pool ever lived in New York City? I know he was here at Zuccotti in 2011. I think he was staying in a hotel. I don't think he came from, I think he moved here because he was like, he visited here to shoot video.
Fusion gave him a big...
I know he had a bunch of money, but he moved into New Jersey.
Right.
He lived in New Jersey. Has this guy lived in this city for more than a couple of months over the past 15, 20 years?
Yeah.
You're going to hear that people have begged him to come here.
But he's going to give some
okay,
tips.
okay.
He's going to give some tips.
I like the idea that he cares more about what's good for New York City than Zoran Mamdani and the people who voted for him. Yeah, I believe that.
Guys, I'm going to tell you something very, very simply and straightforward, and I hope Zoran Mamdani listens, because I genuinely hope he actually thinks about what can make the city better. Now, there's a reason why many people believe Zoran Mamdani's true intentions are to just cause harm, and that communists do not have the best intentions in mind, but I will say this in the hopes, there is just a little bit of Zoran who genuinely wants to help but is just ignorant. I'm going to let you guys in on some internal working secrets.
Guys, we are about to get the straight dope here.
Man, hold on. I want to hear these internal working secrets.
I'm going to let you guys in on some internal working secrets. We were recently reached out to by a series of companies. Why, indeed, it is, my friends, that powerful corporations are realizing they've lost the media war and they need to get into this space. They're asking questions like, we have teleprompters. We pay massive $30 million salaries, and these people got no talent. And so there's genuine questions being asked of these media companies. And how is it that these podcast hosts have no teleprompters, turn the camera on, and just run with it? Not everybody. But for me, hey, I'm one of them. They say Tim Pool can literally just run with it. And you know what?
Who's
I'm
they?
abrasive. I don't swear all that much. But it works for advertisers. It's compelling. People like this content. He's got a big following. Let's give him a call. And so I get a call. I got the call. No, I'm kidding. There's always been business interests. I've talked with many companies throughout the years who have tried to negotiate either partnerships or, yes, indeed, acquisitions. They say, come work for us, and we've always remained independent. And maybe things will change in the future. I'm not.
Was this a Russian
we'll
cutout
see.
too?
But I tell you this: a company
I
says
just spoke
we're
to
based out of
Edward
New York.
Gregorian, and he it's reached back out to me. Go ahead.
Yeah, how do they do this? How does their audio quality get progressively worse and worse as all of a sudden their Russian funding dries up and he has to apparently skip states?
And I'll tell you
Record the
something right
bathroom.
now about all of these offers I'm getting. I'm doing my research this time. I can assure you.
Also, I don't swear, but
How the fuck am I even supposed to sell this property? Acquisitions. They say, come work for us, and we've always remained independent. And maybe things will change in the future. I'm not.
No.
We'll see. But I tell you this: a company says we're based out of New York, and I said, thank you and have a nice day. Click. We've had companies ask us if we'd be willing to do our show out of New York. And I always tell them the answer is absolutely not. And they say, look, New York's got a great talent pool. There's a lot of resources here. We could get you great advertisers. There are big podcasting networks that do ad sales. And they say, we could do a great deal with you. You'll make millions more. Your show will be a lot bigger. Come to New York City. And I tell them this, the amount of money that I would lose by doing my show in New York City because of their tax insanity means you would have to pay me more than you could probably make on the show. And they go, yeah, New York City, by living in New York City and state, I think you're estimated to pay around 13 to 14% additionally, as opposed to operating anywhere else. And we're in the DC area. And that means we have a lot of access to political talent. Now, obviously, we're currently in Texas because we're doing the show down here.
West Virginia.
And sometimes we do this because, well, there's a lot of guests that don't want to travel. We can get great people by coming to other locations. And to be honest, it's fun. Look, I work 16-hour days. I never leave. I eat at the same restaurant every.
So that was the inside information.
Yeah. God, this is exhausting. I have fun for like 5 minutes with his clip, and then I max out because it just gets into like, I mean, God, his cadence is really frustrating.
His cadence. The point of that segment is that he makes millions of dollars and he's a great broadcaster.
Yeah.
The Mom Donnie thing is so
exactly
to what he's
exactly.
Hey, where do we broadcast out of, by the way?
Okay, we're in New York, but we should say that, of course, Mom Donnie has given us a major tax break, specifically for our show, the Majority Report break. On the taxes. So we are a tax-free situation.
We just have to prove we're adhering to Ramadan.
Yes.
The one thing is that we need to fast until sundown.
And renounce our citizenship so we can become illegal immigrants, and then he'll allow us to have an additional tax break.
So the story he told was that ultra-rich businesses based in New York City were like, hey, we got all these teleprompters and we give people giant salaries. Do you want to come? And he's like, you don't have enough money. and you don't have room to raise taxes up there
There's
either.
there's a lot of contradiction. It's nuanced, Matt. That's what you don't understand.
Yeah.
It's nuanced.
Yeah, well, I think it's a skill issue to not be able to do a show in New York.
You know what I think clearly happened with this is that he thought he was going to come and attack Mom Donnie for something that he realized as he's listening to the tape wasn't there.
Yep.
Because all Mom Donnie was doing, this definitely reeks of a segment where he got into wherever he was. His producer had set up, like, here's a clip of because he came in, he's like, get me a Mom Donnie clip. Yeah. And this is the clip that he came up with. And he's like, so wait, he actually just, all he's doing is saying that the city's not affordable enough. Right. I'll just talk about how I'm getting offers in New York. I'll just wing it. I'll wing it. That's what I'm good at. I don't need a teleprompter. I can just wing it. I can wing it.
Yeah.
This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go from my Bronx tough guy talk like this, and then get a little bit more fabulous as I go, and a little more expressive. That's the way I'm going to do this one.
Yeah,
He's a pro.
You raise taxes so much you can't even offer poker and sushi with the boys after you do a show.
Folks, the number is 646-257-3920. 646-257-3920 is the phone number. We will take your phone calls now at 646-257-3920 is the phone number if you want to be a part of the program.
19 is a little funny if we want to do that. That's Mark Andreessen.
Oh,
yes. My God.
I saw a very funny tweet about this.
Mark Andreessen in this clip is trying to do the Don Draper, just move forward, don't look back, right? This horrible coping mechanism that show, I know I have 3 references, Mad Men's one of them, but is talking about, not dealing with your feelings, some certain toxic masculinity. Billionaire freaks like Mark Andreessen are embracing that, but they don't look like John Hamm, unfortunately. He looks like Humpty Dumpty, and it doesn't really...
like a ham.
A ham before it becomes a ham, and it doesn't necessarily come off the same way.
There is a business coaching philosophy that teaches this exact sort of mental health prescription, which is you do not dwell on anything except for your goals and make yourself completely goal oriented. Now, I mean, I don't know if that explains why this guy so clearly and obviously lied to Rogan about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. If that means that he's just completely thoughtless and clueless about stuff that involves like you pausing to think about it, or if he's just so goal oriented that he's willing to just lie through things. But here is Mark Andreessen. What's the show?
Oh, I don't know.
The Founders Podcast.
Oh, here we go.
Sure, this is amazing.
Founders need to.
You don't have any levels of introspection.
Yes, zero, as little as possible.
Why?
Move forward, go. Yeah, I don't know. I find people who dwell on the past get stuck in the past. It's a real problem, and it's a problem at work and it's a problem at home.
So I've read obviously 400, and I think now 10 biographies.
Can you
of
pause it?
entrepreneurs, and that was.
It's a problem at home.
Okay, so what? I cheated on you. Move
Yeah,
on.
stop dwelling on the past.
I'm trying to build.
All right. Anyway, keep going.
Move forward, go.
There we go.
Yeah, I don't know. I find people who dwell on the past get stuck in the past. It's a real problem, and it's a problem at work and it's a problem at home.
They learn from it.
So I've read obviously 400, and I think now 10 biographies of history-based entrepreneurs, and that was one of the most surprising things. Like, what's the most surprising thing that you've learned from this? So like, oh, they have little or zero introspection. Like Sam Walton didn't wake up thinking about his internal self. He just woke up. He's like, I like building Walmart. I'm going to keep building Walmart. I'm going to make more Walmarts, and just kept doing it over and over again.
I'm sorry. Pause it one more time. The other way you could talk about this is as sociopathy.
I was just going to say,
100%.
I just noticed that all these people are sociopaths.
Yeah, I actually believe this about entrepreneurs. I don't believe it about great men, but entrepreneurs, yeah.
They are making the case that billionaires are sociopaths, whether or not you have to be a sociopath to become a billionaire or that level of wealth concentration makes you into a sociopath. I don't know if we can know, but they're literally talking about this as if this is the admirable quality that other people should aspire to.
I also suspect that introspection is doing a lot of heavy lifting for even contemplating empathy. Right? Like it's not just like, I mean, it's one thing to say like, I try not to navel gaze and I try not to interpret everything that happens based upon me. And, but this is also there saying like, oh, I have no interior dialogue, nor do I contemplate the feelings of other human beings or even their humanity. That is just a way to slow you down.
Right. Like as much as we make fun of the Brogan Sphere guys thinking that they learn some therapy terms and they just go, oh, I'm sorry. And that's enough for them to, you know, say like give a softball interview to Donald Trump. This is still worse than that, because as much as that is navel gazing and it's self-indulgent and not necessary, and it's still a step in the right direction of trying to be a maybe better person, acknowledging fault. Andreessen's like, hell no, baby, I'm full steam ahead.
Entrepreneurs, and that was one of the most surprising things. Like, what's the most
also a waste of time reading that many books about entrepreneurs.
400, and I think now 10 biographies of history-based entrepreneurs, and that was one of the most surprising things. Like, what's the most surprising thing that you've learned from this? So like, oh, they have little or zero introspection. Like Sam Walton didn't wake up thinking about his internal self. He just woke up. He's like, I like building Walmart. I'm going to keep building Walmart. I'm going to make more Walmarts, and just kept doing it over and over again.
And you probably know if you go back, like, before 100 years ago, it never would have occurred to anybody to be introspective. Like it's the whole idea of, I mean, just all of the modern conceptions around introspection and therapy and all the things that kind of result from that are, you know, kind of manufactured in the 1910s, 1920s.
Say more about that.
Great men of history didn't sit around doing this stuff.
Wait a second.
He conflates introspection and therapy, which makes me think that he cheated on his wife.
Yes, he did. Definitely.
The idea that there was no introspection except for up to 400 years ago, man never contemplated anything about themselves or their humanity.
Yeah, you hear that?
Matt, is that the case?
Yeah. How old is Buddhism? What, like 50 years old?
I mean, the unexamined life is not worth living is like the most famous quote in Western philosophy.
I mean, Plato's The Republic is about the examination of the soul.
Well, there's a good tweet. There's a couple of tweets here about this I just want to put up. This one, very smart, by Grape Smoker. Piggybacking, obviously it's not true that interiority was invented in the 1900s, but what is true is that the interiority of ordinary people was made legible, both figuratively and literally, by the advent of mass print followed by mass literacy, and this is his real objection.
100%. 100%. I mean, like, because we were just watching the Oscars, thinking a little bit about Hamlet. Like, he goes to be or not to be. Like, I mean,
Right.
It's literally a monologue about introspection.
A funnier comment from Sam Biederman here, though, is that this guy is straight out of a Greek myth, cursed by a hideously enormous skull, but not a thought inside of it.
Go ahead. Let's hear a little more.
Keep building Walmart. I'm going to make more Walmarts and just kept doing it over and over again.
And you probably know if you go back before 100 years ago, it never would have occurred to anybody to be introspective. Like it's the whole idea of, I mean, just all of the modern conceptions around introspection and therapy and all the things that kind of result from that are, kind of manufactured in the 1910s, 1920s.
Which was 400 years ago? Okay, sorry.
Say more about that.
Great men of history didn't sit around doing this stuff at any prior point, right? It's all
Napoleon
it's
didn't
all
write
a
a
new
whole
construct.
thing about his
It was-
drowns
you know,
puppies.
Let's also look into like who are the great men of history going back 400 years. They're just people who were conquering and enslaving other human beings.
Yeah.
Like who are those great men of history for over 400 years ago?
Napoleon.
I mean, Napoleon was
over 400.
Napoleon was massively introspective. Like,
Yes, but he wasn't 400 years ago, Matt.
I mean, he was right in the middle of that.
He's just on this side of it. He started it.
But like the whole world that they supposedly love about like the Industrial Revolution stuff, that was in that time period where apparently we've been being introspective now.
I would think so, but they're just trying.
I mean, he's full of shit. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Is like people, human beings, subject
He's
themselves.
just
to all of this
justifying his
garbage.
ignorance is really what he's doing in a myriad of ways.
And
all
cruelty.
They need to
Say
pose.
ignorance or cruelty.
These guys have more money than they should have. And there used to be a time where, like, you would act at, like, Carnegie making libraries, or like you would try to have some sort of like justification for it. Even I saw David French in the National Review being like, we need to stop acting like there's a relationship between wealth and intelligence to this video. It's like, check your magazine, bro.
Yeah.
Manufactured in the 1910s, 1920s.
Say more about that.
Great men of history didn't sit around doing this stuff at any prior point, right? It's all a new construct. It was,
just
so first Western civilization had to kind of invent the concept of the individual, right? Which was like a new concept, several hundred years ago. And then, for a long time it was, all right, the individual runs, right? And like does all these things and builds things and, builds empires and builds companies and builds technology, does all these things. And then, kind of this kind of guilt-based whammy,
They
kind
all
of showed
snort.
up.
Yeah. What is it they are snorting? What is it that it's going?
Ketamine?
Is it ketamine?
I mean, he's cokey in this.
They have nasal drip from Adderall.
I also think the shape of
I
his
also
skull-
like the idea that he's saying that that natural man's actual prior to this horrible introspection thing, we were more communal. Is that what he's arguing? Like, I can't.
He's read one sociology book that was probably like bought at an airport and was way too reductive, and now it's created.
I would argue he just read the back flap.
I think I have a theory on the shape of his skull and his lack of empathy. Is that he was left in a crib. You see how flat it is on the sides? He was never held. And that's very important to the development of empathy.
Right.
So he was just left in a crib and his head just flattened out and turned into this odd shape you see here. And he never developed
His
adequate
parents
empathy.
didn't love him enough to give him one of those funny helmets that corrected it.
Right. Look at that skull.
Oh man, that is somebody who really should have considered a hair transplant. And I know that, like, normally I don't think that anybody needs to engage in that if they don't feel like it, but I feel like he has the money for it, and it might have helped some things.
Technology does all these things, and then kind of this kind of guilt-based whammy kind of showed up from Europe, a lot of it from Vienna in the 1910s, 1920s.
Guilt-based
Freud and
whammy?
all that entire movement, and kind of turned all that inward and basically said, okay, now we need to basically second guess the individual. We need to criticize the individual. The individual needs to
I'm
self-criticize.
sorry. I know this is a math question, but wasn't it like the 1910s and 1920s like 100 years ago? So what happened with it? I want to know what happened with those 300 years between we first thought about introspection and then all this stuff about guilt and all that other stuff got brought in by
The introspection industrial complex started with Freud. But he didn't come out of nowhere.
Right.
It took a while to get there.
The guilt-based whammy came in from Freud. That's also what he refers to when his wife packs up and goes to the summer house with the kids. It's just with this guilt-based whammy stuff.
I found his lying about the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau much more enlightening, I think, than his sort of just. it almost just feels like I've got to have I've got to have some justification for not caring about other human beings, and that's what I'm going to do. That's like one of the things I've been working on actually. Is just how can I justify my sociopathy? And sweetheart, I'm not going to be introspective. Did you see my interview on the Founders Show? I'm not going to do that.
And he also talks about how other people like they build the great men build things. You don't build anything. I mean, this is part
he's
of
a parasite.
To your point. Okay, yeah, I mean, gosh, the robber barons of the Gilded Age, not gonna talk about them as great men, but at the very least they cared at some point about the arts and like
These
monuments.
schmucks-
And they built tracks and laid things for railroads by union busting and through blood.
Tapped oil wells.
And all of that, like they did literally build things. This guy's a freaking venture capitalist.
Yes.
He just tears things and extracts.
These are parasites. The whole Silicon Valley sort of Borg that guy represents. Their entire job is to actually find the innovation in this country and capture it to make sure all of the benefits from it accrue to the investor class like him. And this is why, despite massive technological advancements in our lifetimes, including the internet, your parents and you will not retire a day earlier than you would have even before them.
Let's go to the phones. Calling from a 509 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Sam, it's Ronald Reagan.
Ronald Reagan. How are you?
I like these self-help segments that you're doing. I think you should do more of them.
That's it. Listen, it worked for Jordan Peterson until he went crazy.
I was just telling my wife, like, great guys are usually pieces of shit, my wife. Honey, Lewis and Clark, they were shitting in their drinking water, okay?
Is that what you would?
You want me to be like,
when she's like, "Can we get a new toaster, please?" You're just like, "Sweetheart, it's one or the other. Either I'm going to be an asshole or we get a new toaster."
you want me to be great or not?
I'm not folding my own laundry.
Yeah. I only move forward.
Exactly.
The dirty
More of that.
laundry's in the
More of that on the
past.
fun half.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I was going to tell you a story about my awesome job. I'm an immigration lawyer.
Oh,
Pretty
yes.
fun these days.
I've heard. I bet you that's a lot of fun.
So many cool tales and stories. So I do think this is like I try not to be paranoid, but I think people with any kind of status, I mean, other than maybe permanent residents, they need to work really hard to avoid the border because ICE is bad and Border Patrol is actually somehow worse. I don't know, like for the discourse that I'm not one of those, pedantic people who's going to get mad at people for getting it wrong or whatever. But a lot of the stuff in Minnesota was Bovino and CBP. I mean, ICE did their share as well. But I had a client, she's a single mother of 7 with a work permit and what's called deferred action because she's got a pending U visa because she was a victim of terrible domestic violence a long time ago. And these cases now take like 10 years to process. So they get a work permit in the meantime and deferred action, which means, you're allowed to be here basically. And she was driving a truck close to the border and she went through a stop point by CBP and they detained her for like no reason. The officer that detained her said it was Trump's fault that he had to do it. And then she literally disappeared for 3 days. I was in contact with my local ICE office and the officer said, well, I can see that something happened, but there's no notes about where she's at or what's going on, just that she was, encountered basically. So I called around frantically. Everybody's sort of passing me around, giving me different numbers. Eventually she was let go and she told me that she was basically like in an office with 10 other people sleeping on the floor. They weren't allowed to call anyone. She had my cell phone during the encounter with Border Patrol. And I said, tell them to call me. and they refused. They refused to let her call me. Just disappeared for 3 days. She said the officers outside the window were like listening to loud music and having parties, and then eventually she was just let go. But anyway, so yeah, Border Patrol is bad. I'm seeing cases up in Montana of asylum seekers who are allowed to be here. They've got, again, also their work permits and stuff. We saw a Turkish guy who went through Thompson Falls, Montana, and the Thompson Falls, Montana police called Border Patrol and said, hey, there's a suspicious looking guy. And they arrested him like an hour and a half later in Idaho for literally no reason. And so then you have to go through a whole like federal process to get them out of detention. But anyways, if there's anyone listening and you've got DACA, deferred action, a work permit, anything like that, I would just recommend staying away from the border. Yeah. And then one funny story, I called a random or a Border Patrol office near where she was arrested, and I talked to this lady. I said, this is I'm trying to find my client. And she said, let me pass you to the supervisor. So I talked to him, and, I'm trying to be like patient, but also advocate for my client. And at the end I said, look, I know you didn't put her in handcuffs, but this is horrible what's happening. And I hope that you can use your position of authority or whatever it is that you do to advocate for this to not happen again in meetings or in emails or whatever. And he sort of said, yeah, we're not going to get into opinions, but I understand. And he seemed sort of sympathetic. And I said, goodbye. And he goes, goodbye. And then I hear, and he forgets to hang up the phone. And he says that the lady who transferred the call to him, he's like, I shouldn't say this, but you fucking bitch. And so then it was sort of playful, I think. They're laughing about
but that's the play in like the DHS is calling your female coworker a bitch for referring you to him for advocating for your client. It's tracks.
Exactly. So they're joking about, did he give you that whole thing about, Jesus Christ, yeah, give me a break. And then they eventually, and I just sit there because of course, right, I'm going to listen. And then eventually they start talking about their lunch or whatever. But then I did call back and I told the lady, your boss forgot to hang up. So I heard everything that you said. And he just, he should be more careful about hanging up the phone in the future.
Why did you do that?
It was just a fun little awkward moment. I just wanted to really.
I know, but it feels like maybe it would be a good practice for them not to do that on a regular basis.
To not hang up.
Yes.
Well, yeah, maybe I fucked it, but I wanted to let them know, and I wanted them to feel really bad about their lives and their choices. So.
Well, at least the guy sort of felt like he had to pretend with you on the phone.
Yeah, there were a handful of people, but again, it's a system where you can detain somebody and not even know where they're at. Nobody knew.
Yeah.
Nobody had any idea. And yeah, so it's pretty bad.
We're I don't even know if we got to this story, but yesterday, finally, this Palestinian woman who was the last person that was still in custody from Colombia was released. She's from the West Bank, and she's been living in New Jersey since 2016. She was finally released. She was held for a year without any charges for her speech.
Yeah.
Medieval.
Yeah. I had a guy arrested the week before Thanksgiving, and one of the things they're doing now is sort of moving people around randomly. So he got shipped to Pearsall, Texas, and wasn't scheduled for a preliminary hearing until March 30th, after a November 23rd detention. And normally, if you're detained, you'd have a hearing within a week or two.
Yeah.
And because of every day the Trump administration is doing something to mess around with bonds or eligibility for bond or what you have to do to get a bond. And they're trying to make it basically impossible for anyone to get out of detention. And so, he was able to get out but like a week ago, after going through a federal habeas petition and all this stuff. And even at that bond hearing, I mean, he's been here since like 2000 and has a bunch of kids and stuff. The government's arguing that he's a flight risk or whatever. These are ICE attorneys, so they're doing solid legal work. But yeah, it's really disgusting, and it's hard because I think there's a lot of well-intentioned attorneys. There's also lots of not well-intentioned attorneys, and everybody's completely maxed out. So I'm getting calls from people who are detained, and it's like, I would love to help you, and it's not even a question of money. Like, I'd do it for free, but there's just not enough hours in the day, and so it's pretty bad. That's why I would like it if you would do more self-help stuff. It's distracting, and it helps me be a better husband, I feel like, and better, father. So more Andreessen is what I'm saying.
We'll look into that. But maybe you should be helping clients instead of calling into a radio show. Jesus.
No, my clients are here right now, but they don't speak English. I'm just telling them that I'm calling. I told them you're a very important judge. Yeah. No, he's going to let you out. It's cool.
They're just sitting there like hoping. Yeah. Nice. Mm-hmm. Well, glad we could help. Ronald Reagan, appreciate the call.
Have a good one.
Right,
thanks, Reagan.
Speaking of saying inappropriate things, should we get to this clip?
You're going to have to be more specific.
Well, we're going to have these primaries. There's going to be an attempt by the Republicans to do something via reconciliation. The war funding could be there. So their numbers are going to be very important. And so they've been spending a lot of time on the health of their members, because one of them came out and said that they have, I think, a cancer, and that this is Neil Dunn. I believe he's from Texas, right? Florida. And he announced that he was going to retire and not run for re-election in Florida. And apparently he's responding well to his treatment. But Donald Trump decided to let us know that he may not make it to the end of his term for various reasons.
This might be the first time I've ever seen Mike Johnson get like a flicker of anger towards Trump. Just you can see a glimmer of it on his face, and see if you can spot it.
And the Speaker of the House, he's got the easiest job of anybody in government. He's got a majority of 2. I don't like to say 1 because it varies, but between 1, 2, and 3. And I think you're the only man that's ever lived that's able to be very happy about it. In fact, when we get up to 3, every once in a while we get up to 3. Actually, for a period of time, we had it up to 4, and then we had a death. And death is very bad when you're the Speaker and you have a majority of 2 or 3. But we had a death, and then we had another death, and we had some things, and but we're looking very strong. We had one man who was very ill. It looked like he wasn't going to make it. I don't know. I won't mention his name. Should I? Do other people know his name? Do you want to mention it? He'll be proud. Go ahead. Tell him the story.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. President. Congressman Neil Dunn of Florida had some real health challenges, and it was very serious, and had a pretty grim diagnosis. And I mentioned it to the president, and I said, Congressman Dunn is a real champion and a patriot because he's still coming to work. And if others got this diagnosis, they would be apt to go home and retire. And
what was the diagnosis?
It was, I think it was a terminal diagnosis.
He would be dead by June.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay, that's. It was grim. That's what I was going to say. I don't.
Pause it. Hold on. We need to hear that again because you can hear everybody go, oh.
He would be dead by June.
But here's the thing. The reason why Trump is saying this is this is hard on me. This puts pressure on me. He's going to be dead by June. I got to do stuff. Like, I don't have time. I don't have time. I don't have time to do what I want to do. He's going to be dead by June.
He said it too, like death is really bad. And I was like, oh, if you're the Speaker of the House and you have small margins, like, okay, so it's very bad for you if you want to get your agenda across. That's what you're talking about.
He's going to be dead by June. That's horrible. That means I'm going to have to move things up a couple of months. If he's dead by June, how am I going to do reconciliation? This is hard. This is hard for me. I want people to know. This has been hard for me.
We're going back, right? We get to hear the full, he's going to be dead by June. I mean,
listen
that
to the
hit me.
groans
Yes.
as people realize, like, we really, I mean, it's usual, like everybody in this room has trained themselves to be supplicant to this complete, utter sociopathic moron. But even this supersedes what they've trained their brains to not react to.
Yes.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay. That's it was.
No, go back a little further. Go back a little further.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. President.
Go back.
Congressman Neil Dunn of Florida had some real health challenges, and it was very serious, and had a pretty grim diagnosis. And I mentioned it to the president, and I said, Congressman Dunn is a real champion and a patriot because he's still coming to work. And if others got this diagnosis, they would be apt to go home and retire. And
What was the diagnosis?
It was, I think it was a terminal diagnosis.
He would be dead by June.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay. That's it was grim. That's what I was going to say. I don't think
With
he
a
was
heart problem, by the way. This was a heart problem.
So the long story.
I need to mitigate the fact that everybody groaned. It was a heart problem.
Look
it
at him
wasn't.
glad-handing him, slapping him on the back. God.
It was a heart problem.
Are Republicans upset about this grave HIPAA violation? Because I remember hearing about medical privacy quite a bit a few years ago.
To be fair, I mean, he did say it was a heart problem. So,
Yeah, and the specifics of his death timeline and the diagnosis. RFK is like, well, if you got cancer, you deserve to die, so HIPAA doesn't apply there. Sorry.
You want to hear more?
Yes.
President
Didn't need enough
called
beef.
him, to encourage him and thank him, and they had a conversation, and the president mentioned in the course of the conversation, you know how to get my doctors involved, and they did, and within a number of hours, they
Faith
took him to
healers?
Walter Reed, emergency surgery. The man has a new lease on life. He acts like he's 30 years younger, and he walked into the conference meeting, and we thought we'd seen a ghost. And I spoke with him over the weekend, and he's encouraged and thankful, and he thanks the president for his leadership and intervention. And thank you.
That's what
Thank
it
you.
is.
He
It's
actually
amazing.
called Mike. Mike called me and he said,
You
"Sir,
saved
we're
my
up by
life."
3, but we're going to lose 1 by June." I said, "Who?" Neil Dunn. He's a great congressman. Incredible. He called to say that he was terminal, really bad heart. There's nothing they can do. I said, "That's bad." Number 1, it was bad because I liked him. Number 2, it was bad because I needed his vote. But he really said, he said, "Mike, I'm going to last this out for the president and you, and however long I live," I mean, it looks like June is the time, but however long I live, I'm going to be voting for you. I mean, how many people are going to say that? Most of them are going to say, "Mike, I'm retiring immediately. That's the end."
Pause it for a second. I want you to notice the woman sitting to Trump's right.
That's Susie Wiles.
Susie Wiles, who's been diagnosed with breast cancer.
Yes.
And she's got to be going like, wait a second. Do I really want to? But you understand why Trump tells this story. Because in Trump's mind, he saved Dunn's life and wants credit for it.
Yes, 100%.
I've saved a life. Now I've also saved a vote. Really, I saved the vote. That's the important.
Well, right. It goes
I
vote
like
and
him.
life.
I like him. But I like his votes better.
But also, can I get into heaven now?
Yeah, and he's right, exactly. Yes. Do we have more of this?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Okay.
That it really was really impressive. And then I realized I have doctors in the White House.
Oh, sorry. That was what I wanted to say really quickly. He's also bragging about the fact that this guy Dunn, in addition to him saying I saved his life, he's trying to say, look at how much they love me. He's even coming when he has terminal cancer to vote on my agenda's behalf. And they're bragging about this as if this is a good thing.
He's crawling out of the coffin to pass my budget.
Yeah. So.
In the White House doctors are incredible. And
And they've helped me with other people. They're helping me with people right now. People that are very sick are like they're miracle workers. And I said, I have to call them. And I called the two doctors. They're both great. And they immediately went over to see the congressman. And he was on the operating table like 2 hours later. Yeah. And it was a long operation.
Here's a picture of his aorta.
Wait.
You can have it.
There's so much here, actually. I'd only seen like a 2-minute clip of this. He's saying I saved his life, but he's also chipper about it because he has a heart issue. Yes. Probably.
Yes.
Most likely. And if this guy had a heart issue and the Walter Reed doctors that Trump recommended and got him the care for can save Neil Dunn's life,
I'm going to live forever.
I'm going to live forever.
He was like a lab rat.
That's why he's excited here,
I wanted
too.
to see if they could work on this guy and make him live, and they can, and so that's good for me.
So if we're ranking the layers of the weave here and like what Trump is most happy about, it's one, that the Walter Reed doctors could save this terminal life, and probably mine. 2, that he has the votes that he needs. And 3, Neil Dunn's a nice guy, I guess.
I'm never going to die, and I'll have votes. So I've got 2 things.
And I saved a guy's life. Remember when he got distracted by the girl who he got LASIK surgery for?
Yeah, I spent so much money on that.
I got you. How are your eyes, sweetheart?
Thing that you could possibly have. And they called up. They said, sir, I think he'll be fine. I said, you got to be kidding. I said, I think he'll be fine.
Did you say, I'm going to be fine?
And Mike was telling me the story that the other day he came into a meeting for the first time in a long while. Go ahead.
Well, it was incredible. I mean, just his release on life. He
Pause
has more
it for a
energy
second.
than-
Mike literally just told everybody that story. We just heard that story. He was not listening to anything he said.
It's exactly like talking to a comic.
Yeah, exactly.
He's like, tell him that story. Nah, I'll tell it.
Yeah.
And then doesn't listen to anything
He
anybody
didn't.
says.
He didn't just hear it. You didn't hear that story. Mike was telling me this story the other day. Mike just said that story
Out
20
loud.
seconds ago in front of everybody. Mike, tell that story for the first time. Tell it for the first time.
In his head, he's just going, la, 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 my heart's okay. La,
Yeah,
la, la, my
Walter
heart's
Reed.
okay.
I saved Dunn's life. Okay. I got the extra vote. Go ahead.
A man half his age and very encouraged and encouraged all of us. So again, a testament to great leadership. And my hat's off to Neil Dunn and his beautiful wife and family. He's
Talk about how I did it again, Mike.
And just, because I don't want to have a terrible story about this, I did it for him first and for the vote second. But it was a close second, actually. But I did it for the vote second. All right? I want to...
Yeah, and understand, I mean, the guy, I went way out of my way
That was so convincing.
to order the doctors who work for me to work on this guy because I liked him. And I'd like a little credit for that. It wasn't just for the vote. It's also because I liked him.
Right.
Now, of course, theoretically, like maybe the doctors are just sitting around, but somebody else did not get that surgery that day.
Right. It's also, okay, is he personally paying for medical care at Walter Reed for himself or for anyone he sends there? My guess is that the taxpayer is fronting
not.
that.
Probably
Yes,
not. Probably
yes.
not.
But he
I'd
wants
like
the
some
credit. Yeah.
I'd like some credit.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that the credit is because I liked him. And then also the vote. But I liked him. And also this story is great. Mike, tell them one more time about how he came into
Dead by June.
Thank God. Insane.
He's really like, Mike, you're a terrible storyteller.
Yeah. He'll be dead by June.
You have no idea how much good I've done for the country. I've saved lives.
Do you think that's where he sent that
The
woman
Speaker of
for...
the House, you got the easiest job of anybody
Oh,
in
no.
government.
Do you think that's where he sent the woman for LASIK was Walter Reed? That's why he's taking credit and then said it
Probably it's all
cost so much.
taxpayer money.
Yeah, no chance.
You want new eyes, sweetheart? It's on me.
We could do the Josh Shapiro thing if you want or not. I find this more interesting perhaps than you. I'm not sure, but
Let's take a phone call.
all right.
Calling from a 720 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hi, is this, am I on?
Yes. Who is this and where are you
Oh, hi.
calling from?
This is Charlie the mailman. I'm in Denver, Colorado.
Charlie the mailman from Colorado. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that we totally destroyed the get 155 to delegates for Kiros, 80 for the get.
I saw this story
in the assembly.
Yes. Can you tell us a little bit more? So for people that don't know, we've had Melat Kiros on the show. This is maybe one of the races I'm like most invested in the country. Melat Kiros is a phenomenal candidate running in Denver. It's a safe blue district against a 15-term incumbent. She got fired from her job at a law firm in 2023 for speaking out against the genocide in Gaza. She's not taking any corporate PAC money, etc. She's a really, really strong candidate.
Yeah, I mean, 30 years of the get winning that, and she was blown away. The get almost didn't even get on the ballot. 10 votes didn't go her way. She wasn't even going to run as a Democrat.
And this is the delegate vote. Can you explain what that means?
Yeah, this is the delegate vote. So we're in the initial. We're basically going to be bringing those delegates. We're at the county assembly now. Like in the 14th, that was the county assembly, and then they grab all of those delegates, and then at this stage, people can be campaigned to change their delegate vote. So that's kind of weird, but I think actually that might even run in our favor. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, I know that DeGette, it was considered a bit of a long shot because she's fairly popular within the district, but this seems to be a pretty good indication that there's a lot of grassroots energy. There's the primary is June 30th, so we have a little bit of time, but I was really happy to see that.
I mean, she's fire. I think she's really going to be the next superstar in the House. I can send you guys her speech. It was so beautiful. And DeGette came out afterwards and was basically just trying to say that Kiros was lying about her and was almost practically booed off stage because there aren't any lies to be told there. It was just more like the truth of the fact that she has maybe like 12 pharmaceutical companies supporting her campaign. There's just so many things that she's done that's been disappointed to me. And going into that assembly, this was the first time I really felt like there's some real change that can happen in Denver. And I'm just really excited about that.
Well, really exciting.
Send us the speech.
I will. I emailed it to you guys, but it was like the bad version. So I'll email you the best version. I came up with like 4 from everybody that was campaigning for her. So
awesome.
Okay. Great. Appreciate that.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for the call.
And if people want, they can check out my interview with her from a few months ago. Melat, M-E-L-A-T, Kiros, K-I-R-O-S. One of those politicians you interview, I've said this before, it instantly when I interviewed AOC for the first time. I felt the same way about Jamal Bowman. I feel the same way about Kiros.
What should we do here? We could do the, this is good news. Get 18 ready. A federal judge in Boston, of all places, has blocked all of the vaccine changes in recommendations that RFK Jr. has made. And this is coming on the heels. In February, there was a bunch of reporting that the White House was basically trying to tamp down on RFK. In February, there was that Trump executive order promoting the production of glyphosate, which is a MAHA no-no. But then there was also a firing. This was back in mid-February as well, of a bunch of top health officials at Department of Health and Human Services. Jim O'Neill and General Counsel Mike Stewart exiting a year into Kennedy's reign. This is basically part of the White House getting nervous about their polling when it comes to the anti-vax stuff coming out of Department of Health and Human Services. This is from Axios. 6 in 10 Americans trust the government's vaccination recommendations for children. This is according to an Axios Ipsos poll. Vaccines are becoming a third rail in the administration efforts to overhaul America's public health system, to the consternation of some of Kennedy's most ardent supporters. Trust in childhood vaccination schedule, which was dramatically overhauled in January to more closely align with Denmark's, now stands at 60%, down from 71% when asked the question last June. Federal judge blocked Kennedy from carrying out these vaccine policy changes, including the recommendations for kids. And so what does the Department of Health and Human Services do? What does Bobby Kennedy do? Instead of like addressing the fact that a federal judge has struck down his changes in vaccine policy and the American public has responded saying, we don't trust what you're doing. And again, like measles in South Carolina is still going crazy. Measles are burning up everywhere across the country. He's out there saying that, the problem with polio had more to do with environmental issues at the time. So what do you do if you want to make the American public trust you as the top administration official when it comes to health and human services? Mm-hmm. You need to let folks know that when the government says something, there's credibility there, that these are thoughtful people. They're not just shooting from the hip. So they're going to target maybe the way that we eat. I mean, processed foods are bad. There's a lot of bad food out there. And how are they going to do that? Well, Maha-mania.
What power! A huge suplex! What a move! A massive boot! A tombstone, this could be it! What a slam! Right in the center of the ring! Punishing strikes! What a maneuver! Look at that rotation, and a massive slam! This is incredible!
There it is, ladies and gentlemen. Get rid of that. Eat real food. Bobby Kennedy.
AI
Bobby Kennedy. Hugely cut with like triple testosterone replacement therapy. And of course,
and some
replete with the
exfoliants.
genes.
Yeah, right.
And
took off some layers of leather from that
It's
skin.
not really that impressive to beat up a mascot because they're pretty
beating up a guy
encumbered.
in a Twinkie suit.
And of all of the bad foods that you could be fighting, I would imagine. I think the Twinkie is probably the softest of them all.
Right.
I mean, you could be fighting some hard candy.
Yeah, take on some blue Takis.
Doritos have sharp edges. You're going for Twinkies, as soft as it gets.
Exactly.
Doritos are
actually what I sound
marshmallow.
Yeah, not even right. This is like 20th percentile in terms of toughness for junk food. There's no the AI is so bad. Why didn't they have the cream from the Twinkie come out when he was beating him up?
Too gory.
It's a snuff film. Yeah. It's so dumb. It's so dumb.
So embarrassing. Like
it's so far from his father. It's crazy. We were talking about his father's speech he gave after MLK's assassination. Earlier today, me and Matt, how it's one of the greatest speeches ever given.
And his father also evolved. I mean, that's what was the tragedy of the Kennedys in many ways was like, JFK ran as an aggressive anti-communist, but when he was in power, he was a lot more skeptical of like war aims and the militarism and the people that, of course, with Cuba, as we're seeing what's happening right now. And RFK started to become more progressive and liberal as his life was going on, and then he was assassinated. And Bobby's going in the opposite direction. I don't know what this is.
Well, at least my descendants will be able to see me, not exactly me, but a near representation of me beating up a Twinkie.
And
so
I don't like that guy Schlossberg in New York 12 at all, but I did see his clip where he was talking about that Ryan Murphy show, which seems pretty gross about JFK Jr. And he did mention how like it's a weird time to put out this show because the administration is engaged in a full-scale rewriting of the legacy of JFK, whether it's like he reopened the investigation to the assassination or said he was going to and isn't really going to look into the reality of it, or him putting his name on the Kennedy Center and like closing it down because Trump has this fixation with the Kennedys. And Bobby is participating in the complete slander of his own family. And that's the guy you trust to give you health advice? I mean, that's someone who is either totally insane or morally bankrupt. It's one or the other.
I think both.
I don't think you can
How about
have to
both?
be mutually exclusive.
I'm
is what
sorry.
was
I
gonna say.
shouldn't have said that. Yes, exactly.
My
stomach it literally at 2:30, my stomach starts grumbling.
Josh in
Now-
California, you all saw drunk Alex Jones on Tim Pool's show? Did not see that. All right.
I bet he cried.
Final call of the day. Calling from a 726 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Good afternoon, Sam and Emma. It's John from San Antonio.
John from San Antonio.
Good to hear from you.
What's on your mind, John?
Yeah, today's a big election day for progressives and Democratic Socialists in Illinois. I'll start with the progressive candidates who I think have the best chance of winning. The 9th District is the most talked about Democratic House primary of the year. It features Democratic Socialist Kat Abizela, who is a popular streamer journalist who was on this show last Tuesday. Abizela has raised over $3.3 million, which is an amazing amount of money for any House candidate, including incumbents. Most of it comes from small individual donors. The leading contender is Daniel Biss, who is currently the mayor of Evanston, Illinois. Biss has led in most of the 9 polls. Though in the last PPP poll, which was released last Wednesday, Biss only led Abizela by 22 to 24%, or to 20% rather, with 17% of the vote still undecided. 13 other candidates are also in the race, including 2 progressives, State Senator Mike Simmons, who has 10%, and Bushwa Amawalia, who has 7% in the last PPP poll. Both of those candidates have also raised a good deal of money. I'm glad you had on Justice Democrats endorse Junaid Ahmed on this show 2 weeks ago to share his progressive issue set. This district is currently represented by Raja Krishnamurthy, who is running for the Senate to replace Dick Durbin. Kamala Harris won this district by 7 points, and it's a mostly suburban district that has a lot of centrist Democrats in it. Besides Ahmed, the leading candidate is conservative Melissa Bean, who was a congresswoman from this district from 2005 till she was defeated in the 2010 election. After her defeat, Bean worked in the financial services industry for J.P. Morgan Chase and eventually became CEO of Mezro Wealth Advisors. Once labeled as Wall Street's favorite Democrat, Bean has received the most corporate PAC money in the current cycle, with AIPAC affiliated Chicago Women giving her $3.9 million. Think Big, which is a pro-AI PAC, giving $1.1 million. New Democratic Majority, which supports centrist pro-business friendly moderates, giving her $935,000. And Protect Progress, which is part of the pro-crypto Fair Shake Group, has spent $557,000 to support Bean. In most suburban districts, the best way for progressives to win is to split the centrist vote, and with most candidates in this district are centrist. Other centrists running are Neil Cott, Kevin Morrison, and Dan Tully. Ahmed has raised $1.3 million, and Bean has raised 1.6 besides the PAC money. Before Sunday, there was only one poll in this district that came out in August that Bean paid for, and that in that poll, Bean was only winning by 2 points over Ahmed. On Sunday, a globalidigital.com, which is based out of India, had a poll where they emailed a large amount of district potential voters, and the ones who responded weren't included in the poll. It's not how a poll is supposed to be conducted. The pollster Should have made a guess at the proper demographics of the districts. So considering the lack of weighting, it had been at 28%, Ahmed at 23% with 14% undecided. Ahmed received 30% of the vote when he ran against Kristen Murdy, and hopefully he'll get a much higher percentage today. In the 7th district, there are 4 strong progressives running: Keena Collins, Anthony Driver Jr., Reed Showalter, and Annabelle Mendoza, who was on this show 2 weeks ago. Collins is the leading contender out of the 4. This is the 4th time in a row that she has run for this seat. And in 2022, she was endorsed by Justice Democrats, only lost by 6 points to long-term incumbent Danny Davis, who's retiring this year. And the only poll conducted in January, the front-runner is LaShawn Ford, who has been an Illinois state representative since 2007. He had 23% in the poll. Melissa Conyers-Irwin, who is currently the Chicago City Treasurer and ran for this seat in 2024 and finished a distant second with 21% of the vote, which was slightly ahead of Collins, who had 19%. Those 2 candidates are also in second and third in the aforementioned poll this year, with Conyers at 15% and Collins at 12%. Fair Shake, a pro-cryptocurrency PAC, has spent $2.5 million against Ford. United Democratic Project, an AIPAC-affiliated group, has spent $5 million in support of Conyers-Irwin. In the 2nd district, where incumbent Robin Kelly is running for the Senate, Robert Peterson is endorsed by Bernie Sanders and a plethora of other progressive organizations. Peters has raised over $1.1 million, which puts him at near the top in fundraising. Unfortunately, he's only polling at 5%, far behind the polling leader, Jesse Jackson Jr., who is at 24% in the last poll that was conducted last December. Jackson won his first special election in 1995 and served until November of 2012, when he resigned, citing physical and mental health problems. Though all filing deadlines have not passed as of now, as a percentage, more non-incumbent progressives are running in Illinois than in any other state. Even though most progressives will not win, it's important that progressives and Democratic Socialist candidates talk about the issues to build momentum for change. In the 6th district, Joey Rusinich, who is endorsed by the Western Illinois DSA, is running against incumbent Sean Caston, who has a good record on the environment. Let's see. In the 11th district, progressive Morgan Coghill takes on incumbent centrist Brad Schneider. In the 13th district, progressive Dylan Blaha takes on incumbent centrist Nikki Vidowski. In the 5th district, progressive Matt Conroe is running against centrist incumbent Mike Quigley. In the race to replace Dick Durbin in the Senate, current federal House Representative Raja Krishnamurti has raised over $37 million and had double-digit leads in polling since last summer. In the last 6 weeks, Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton has narrowed the gap, and now it's a toss-up race. While Stratton is not a hard progressive, she does support Medicare for all and is generally the best candidate among those who are viable.
Yep. That's going to be a big one.
Yes. Appreciate the breakdown there, John.
Yeah, been enjoying your coverage. Beginning of the show, it was great.
All right. Well, appreciate the call, John. Good to know. That Senate race is going to be important, I think.
Yes. And Krishnamurti is
appreciate the call.
Yeah. Appreciate the call. Cynical actor a little bit.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Folks, that sound signifies the end of our phone call part of the program, and I'm going to read a couple IMs, and then we're going to wrap it up for the day. Kentucky, boy, gas prices up $1.50, rising in Kentucky. The price of freedom just keeps rising. A run with a view. The venture capitalists and private equity firms just redistribute wealth and slash and burn like loggers for the bigger boys to swoop in and farm the newly acquired landscapes. They don't really create anything beyond that on a large scale, right? It's a lot of extraction with those guys. George Santos, yesterday was my birthday too. Aiden, the transplant. Me and Brian have the same birthday. Happy belated, Brian.
Thank you.
Wow, a lot of people. June Oliver. On every date I've been on with a man, I wonder how many Walmarts this guy could ever make. Billionaire bros be like, sympathy is a modern plague. Also, why don't you take the male loneliness epidemic seriously?
100%.
Galactic Nurse Boogers. Yay, Sam pronounced Cat's name right. I think it's a good omen. Raul, Corey Bush. Diaper Don Road Doctrine. Hi, MR crew. This is with the talk of AIPAC funding a progressive candidacy to thwart the other progressive candidate. I'm wondering about the feasibility of ever running a spoiler centrist candidate or PAC as a similar tactic in a primary.
Yeah, it's just a question of resources.
Yep. Rafi, the housing study you referred to at the beginning has been misrepresented by the media. See this thread. I will check it out. Lost the IMs. Okay. Track left. That ad sounds like AI slop. Okay. 5 more. Tim Pool's beanie. Notice Trump has a cover over his glass, even next to Mike. He's so paranoid.
To be fair, every glass on that table was covered.
Oh, I guess true. But it is true that Trump is very paranoid, yes.
Labor Churchill. Nothing he's saying has anything to do with the meeting subject. Yes.
I mean, who cares about the Kennedy Center thing?
Jay Tingle.
Trump.
Gusanos returned to Cuba from Miami as tourists and yelled at people living in houses where their grandparents supposedly lived. Havana casinos would return to Havana as well as the industrial strength sex trafficking. Irish Estonia, changing my name to Sam Cedar says. Roxy bemused. I know the news is crazy, but the horrid news from the federal Fourth Court of Appeals made the most horrid, cruel, anti-scientific judgment on trans healthcare. It's sickening to me because of the cruelty. We'll check it out. Harambe City. Fighting a Twinkie reminds them of the hugs they never got as kids, though. And the final I am of the day. Wu-Tang forever. For real, how is this the one Kennedy not to be hit by the Kennedy curse?
You could argue he was.
Yes.
Just a variant. Matt, Brian, Emma, great job today, folks. See you tomorrow.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught.